Hello, everyone. Welcome to Trades Talk. It's a special edition. We're not on Tuesday, but it happens to be Friday, which is okay because I have myself a special guest today. His name is the Irate Specialist, and we are going to take a dive into his journey into the trades. And he'll tell us that in his own words. So please um, help me welcome him. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Hey,
So, Irate Specialist. Um, let's just get right into it. Um, actually, just for that, welcome to everyone in the chat, whether you're on Kick, Rumble, Twitch, YouTube. Just want to say hello to you guys. Hello, Angry Canadian. Good to see you. And Tripping Orc, welcome. And now we can get into it. So I'm just wondering, Irate Special, have you always wanted to be into the trade in the trades?
no, it was the last thing I wanted to do. My dad was an electrician, and I was a rebellious teenager, and the last thing I wanted to do is to grow up and be like my dad. But
Yeah, I
it
can see
didn't
that.
take, yeah, it didn't take long to realize that without a certain, without knowing what you got to do, if you have a dream of doing certain things, being a doctor, a lawyer, without that drive and that dream to do that specific thing, going to college was a waste. And outside of a trade, there's really not much way to make a lot of money.
Yeah, it's I know what you mean though. Like when I was younger too, I was just like, "Oh, I'm just going to be a laborer." And then, dad laughs at you and says, you're not going to make any money being a laborer." And it's like, "Oh." And then you really have that realization that, "Hmm, he's right."
Yeah, I was in sales, and I was making as much money as he was at one point. So that was nice, but it dries up really quickly.
Oh yeah, sales? Yeah.
Yep. And when you look around at your job and you see you're 21, 22 years old, and you see that you're the old man in the job, that's not a very good sign of the future.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That does. Yeah, and everybody's younger than you. It's like this is a stepping stone job, not a forever job. I guess is what it says.
Yeah.
Oh, and
So yeah,
hello. Sorry, I just want to say hello to Alex Moore. Hello, Alex. You're listening while you warm up your car. There you go. Nice to have you here. Um, so Irate, it was after this, you were in sales and you're like, I better get into a trade or I better become an electrician or something like that.
well, my dad let me pretty much stay at home because I never really got in trouble around the house. But he got tired of me living there and said, if you don't get a real job, we're kicking you out. So that's what I did. I flipped through the papers until I found someone hiring as an electrical helper. I went down there. They hired me right off the bat. My dad gave me his tools, some extra tools he had, and then I started up. And it was a, I had a, it was easy for me, I guess, because I had a leg up because my dad was an electrician. I knew a lot of things.
Okay. So how long did you stick around with that for? Like how long were you an electrical helper?
Probably about maybe 4 or 5 months, and then I joined the apprenticeship.
Okay, so they were whoever was the in charge there, they were willing to indenture you as an electrician then. Is that right?
Well, no, it's a little different in Florida. It's a right to work state, so we have union and non-union work.
Oh,
So I was at a non-union shop as an electrical helper, and then they hired. Then I was like, well, I can go to the union and get a free education out of them, and they employ me right away. So I went down to the hall and signed up, and they put me right to work.
oh, nice.
Yeah, making more than I was in the non-union shop as a quote unquote helper. So
Yes, yeah, I could see that right off the bat. The union's going to have their set wages for each level and all that.
yep.
So was it just so? Do you mind me asking, like, what year that was?
That was probably 2002, if I remember
Okay.
correctly. Because yeah, I was in sales until right after 9/11, and then like a couple months later, I was like, no, I'm not working in sales anymore. I need to do something else.
Well, that's good too, especially if you like working with your hands and such, and or like pulling cable and stuff like that. Whatever whatever your favorite part of the job is.
Yeah, I was my fate more technically inclined. I mean, I'm a big, strong guy, so pulling cable wasn't an issue, nor digging ditches. But got quite hot in the summertime, though.
Mm, I guess it would. So then you stuck with the apprenticeship from 2002 till it's 4 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
2006.
Yep.
You got
And then I got.
uh,
Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was gonna say you got certified as a journeyman then.
Yes, sir. Yeah, with
Nice.
the union, it was automatic. Once you graduate the apprenticeship program, you're a journeyman. They didn't have like a final test
Oh,
afterwards.
okay.
So yeah, I just completed all the tests throughout the program, and then yeah, you're a journeyman. If you're in, they top you out as a journeyman, and yeah, you're on your
So
own.
that so for what I understand is, and I've known quite a few electricians in my time. You can do residential, commercial, or industrial. Which one would you say you were doing the most of?
Uh, when I was in construction, it was a lot of commercial and industrial work. When I was in, I'm sorry, during my apprenticeship.
Okay.
Um, I later signed on after I became a journeyman. I signed up to a maintenance department, which was a little bit more technical and troubleshooting. It's a lot different than working in the construction, because in construction you're digging ditches, you're installing, running pipe, stuff like that. With maintenance, you just maintain things that are broken. You have to troubleshoot and diagnose why something doesn't work. It requires a little bit
Exactly.
more knowledge of how
Yeah.
things work.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's what I'm most familiar with is more of the maintenance side of things, rather than new construction.
Yeah.
Oh, Angry Canadian wants to know what's the difference between commercial and residential.
Residential is your home. It has a different coding system than a commercial or a business. A lot like a home, it's not as strict. You can use a light fixture all your wires can go into a light fixture, whereas in a commercial building, you have to have junction boxes and things like that.
So the rules are a little more lax, I guess it sounds like, for residential than commercial.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And would you have said that when you were doing your schooling that code made up quite a big majority of the knowledge that you had to do for your exams and all that?
When I went through the apprenticeship, code was a big part of it, but they made us do a lot of math that I wouldn't think would be necessary, and still have not found it necessary as a journeyman. I can't think of one time I've used Boolean algebra in my time as a journeyman electrician.
So that's almost getting into the electrical engineer side of things when you start doing that, I think.
Yes. Yes. I was surprised how math heavy it was.
Kitty Bear says construction's the most fun as electrician. And
It
welcome,
can
Kitty
be.
Bear.
Hey, Kitty Bear. Yeah, it can be. It depends on the type of person you are. Some people love construction. I mean, I did my share of it. I did some high voltage installation, installing, 500, which is, large gauge wire, like for, that would be like power lines. I helped run and install some 500 MCM wire.
Yeah.
Um, I did a lot of different things, and some people loved it. It's a little hot in Florida for doing that during the summertime, to be honest.
Well, because you have to get all the gear on, right? You have to get all the what do you call it? The oh, what, like when it's going to
Now,
make a
the
big
thing,
jump of electricity, you got to be careful.
well, installing new instruction, like new installations, that wasn't a big deal. Everything was dead.
Right. It's all dead. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, nothing was energized. So Yeah, you didn't have to wear any of that.
Okay. Big contract. What's this, Alex Moore? Big contracts angry? I don't know what I don't know what you're talking about there. Kitty Bear says commercial uses more power. Stuff needs to be separated so the wires don't melt. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say before the wires wouldn't. I wouldn't say it needs to be separated, but yeah, a lot of commercial, depending on what you're doing, uses definitely a lot more electricity, like 480 and stuff like that, where you wouldn't find that in a residential. You may have 2 poles, single phase, in a commercial. I mean, in a residential area.
Yeah.
You may, yeah.
Kitty Bear says, as an electrician, you don't need the math. The people making the drawings need it. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. But during my apprenticeship, they tried to convince us that Boolean algebra was necessary for bending pipe, which it is not. It absolutely is not.
And welcome to Serranos. How you doing, buddy? You don't feel like an electrician would need better math than any other construction connected trade?
It doesn't.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, better. Yeah.
I mean, basic measuring is all you need.
Yeah.
But for some reason, my apprenticeship, it required more of it.
Yeah. Like I've seen guys have to figure out, I don't know, draw on a motor, you voltage and all that kind of stuff, what it will be under load. And it's just like, okay, a little bit of that math,
Yeah. I mean, you have Ohm's law for determining certain things, like if you need to know the amperage of something, or if you need to know the amount of resistance.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not, you can Google it.
Yeah. I mean, Ohm's law, EIR, like just remember that and you're good.
Yep. And PIE.
Yep. So, did you stick with that same company that that you worked for your whole apprenticeship? Did you stick around with them or no?
No. During the apprenticeship, they move us around with the union. They want you
okay.
For the most part, a few people unfortunately stayed with their same company, but moving around gave me a lot more experience.
Yeah, I would think so. And going to different, and that might be the better part of it. You go to different places and you get exposed to different things, and that way you get more well-rounded as you're knowing the electrical trade.
Exactly. I mean, if I stuck with the same company, I wouldn't have been able to do some high voltage. I wouldn't have been able to do low voltage telecom. There'd be a lot of stuff I'd miss out on. And I've seen the people who topped out as journeymen, stayed with the same high voltage department installing cable, and didn't know how to use a meter or a drill when they became journeymen.
Yeah, I mean, that's the unfortunate part. Yeah. Hey, DJ Ronnie G. But yeah, I mean, and that's good. And I think more guys should be trying to do that, try to moving around a little more rather than just staying in the one thing and doing the same thing, because then you don't get the full exposure to the electrical experience.
Exactly. And because there's a lot to it. It's not just, your outlet. There's a lot more. I would imagine electrical is probably they sum up a lot more things under just quote unquote an electrician does it than any other trade out there.
Yeah.
My current maintenance job, they'll have me doing electronics, PLCs, motors, motor controls, high voltage, low voltage, telephones. It's like fire alarm systems, all that's under electrician. So
you're doing everything. That's all right.
Yeah.
What Kitty Bear says, it's there for you if you want to be the person doing the drawing and calculating what wires and plates to use. You hated it myself, and all I wanted to learn to read the drawings.
Yeah. That's something for everyone there.
DJ Ronnie G wants to climb power transmission lines when he grows up. Probably not a good idea. Yeah. You're going to imitate a moth. But yeah. So it's 2006. You're a journeyman. Are you still moving around from place to place, or are you settled into one place now? Or
No, I went to a company that with maintenance, and I settled
Okay.
with them because they, unlike with construction, you get paid for what you work. If you want to take time off of work, you don't get paid. If you get sick,
Mm,
you don't get paid.
yeah.
There's no benefits like that. But with this, I went to work with a larger company, so I get, you know, seniority, set schedule. I bid for positions and stuff within the company. We have shift bids, so I can choose what time I want to come to work. Uh, there's
Wow.
a lot more benefits to it. Where with construction, you do make a little bit more money because there's more overtime and they do pay a little more. But I like having vacation and sick days.
Yeah, it's about the benefits after a while. Like, yeah, you can make more money, but when it comes right down to it, you want the benefits that the company can provide you, you know?
Yes, yes. And I
Um,
see your little joke there, DJ. Yeah, you're grounded.
when you
I get
yeah.
it.
Oh, I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
ban you for that one, DJ Ronnie G. They better get better. You better get better jokes.
that's a dad
Um,
joke.
sure is. Um, I just want to back up a little bit.
Sure.
As you were going through, uh, did you attend a trade school? Did the union send you to a trade school to get all your what is it? Your technical side of things?
The union had their own.
They had their own school. Oh,
They had
nice.
their own school. Yeah. So they are the ones that put me out to work. They're the ones that, I showed up and took the class for, everything like that. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. So, um, was it 8 weeks every year for you then?
Boy, that's a long time ago. No, no, we attended school pretty much year round. I think we got 2 or 3 weeks off because it's only one day a week. We did it one day a week, and then they just stretched it
Oh,
out year
okay.
round.
It's
Yeah.
quite different than what I was used to. For my
Yeah.
apprenticeship, we would do 8 weeks every year for 4 years.
Okay.
So it was nice. I went to an institution here, and yeah, they turn out a lot of tradespeople, like a lot all different trades going to the same place.
Oh yeah, no, ours was strictly electrical, high
Okay,
dropout rate. Can't I
high
mean
dropout.
we Oh my goodness, we started with over 40 people and graduated with like 15.
Huh. Phew.
Yeah, I think it's the work. People weren't prepared because it's Florida. You get out, you sweat, you work hard, you come home, you have a drink so your muscles don't ache so much, and then you go to bed and you wake up the next day and do the same thing.
Yeah. Wow, that's brutal.
It's but it's rough getting started, but it's worth it. I mean, you ain't gonna starve. They'll always keep you working.
Yeah.
If the in construction, if the site lays people off, you go down to the hall, sign the books, and then it goes in order of who signed the books, who gets the next job. They'll call you up, and if you're out of work for a long time, you sign up for unemployment. You don't have to go look for a job if you're in the union. They know your union's looking for one for you.
Oh, that's good. They got your back. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Kitty Bear
yeah.
says PLCs were fun. Were fun. He made a whole class fail a test involving a pick. He knew how it worked better than the teacher. Ha! Jeez. And I'd like to say hello to Punkwaddle. Hey,
Hey,
everyone's
Punk
favorite
Waddle.
in England. Um, Kitty Bear, when you told your dad you wanted to follow him as an electrician, he was shocked. Oh,
Oh, but
yeah. When your dad found out I didn't want to go into business like him, he said, "You're fired." Oh, Punk Waddle. 882 Punk Waddle. Well, no, that's good.
what
I just
was
wanted to. Hmm?
what was Punk Waddle's dad's business?
Uh, what was his
What
business?
does
You got to enlighten us
what
on that, Punk
does
Waddle.
what does Papa Penguin do?
Probably builds igloos. It
Yeah,
too
fishing,
brutal.
fishing. Yeah.
But yeah, it was like I say, it was a little different for me. The way you did it though, that's great. If the union has its own school, you go and get the schooling. And honestly, if someone is not in the trades and is thinking about being an electrician, could you honestly tell them that the schooling wasn't that hard to do?
No, it wasn't that hard to do. You did have to. I didn't find it too terribly difficult. If you really do struggle with math or something, I don't know what your area is. With mine, it was math heavy. Not all areas may be like that. My understanding with the electrical apprenticeship is each part of, at least in the United States, each part of the country, they have different requirements for electricians. So they try to teach their electrical apprentices those things. So like if you're in an area where high voltage is a big deal, you know, they'll focus on that versus lower voltage commercial residential. Where I'm at, there's a lot of commercial residential and hospitals around, so they focus on that kind of education.
Okay, yeah.
So
So
yeah, but if you are not so well with math, there's a lot of other trades: HVAC, carpentry, plumbing. I mean, plumbing, you just have to know water runs downhill.
yeah, and yeah, exactly. And I always, and anybody that's listened to my trades talks knows I always extol the virtues of like HVAC. Uh, People need to be warm in the winter and they need to be cool in the summer. So that's a trade that you're always going to be busy, you
I
know.
don't know of an HVAC person that doesn't have 100 jobs lined up and ready to go. I
Yeah,
mean,
there you go.
they just can't do enough. I mean, I'm in Florida; it's a lot hotter, but yeah,
Yeah.
you can't not have AC here.
No, no, it's got to be like a requirement.
Yeah,
What
it's
do we got
November
here?
and the high was 88.
Oh man. And here we're hovering at around, I don't know, what is it? 5 degrees Celsius. It's about
I mean, right
what,
now it's six.
58?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's 69 Fahrenheit, which is that's comfortable. But
Yeah.
tomorrow it could be high of 88 again. It's it fluctuates like crazy in Florida.
Yeah, those are quite the swings in temperature.
Yeah,
Um, DJ Ronnie G says firefighter, or maybe his dad was DT.
maybe
Oh,
whatever that is.
Punkwell says he used to do contract negotiation stuff for a bigger company years ago.
Oh,
Contract
okay.
negotiation. There you go.
Ooh.
Kitty Bear. Electrician education had a few parts that were hard, but only for the reason you didn't see why I had to learn science and all the math because it had nothing to do with what you wanted to do.
Yeah,
I get that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Boolean algebra is not something you
Yeah.
need, and they taught it to me. So,
Yeah.
and not something I've ever used.
I mean, it's the millwright trade I'm in is very it's quite varied. You can specialize in things as well, and sometimes you just don't get exposure to a lot of the things that they teach you at school. So, like coupling alignment was something that I hardly ever touched on the job, and yet we had to do it in school. So it was just it's things like that.
Yeah. The most important thing you'll learn is with the on the job training. The
Yes.
apprenticeship put me to work out in the field, working with other journeymans and watching them and doing work with them. That's where I learned most of everything I know. Especially the old guys. The old guys would show you the ways you should do it and you shouldn't sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you learn from them. All right. But
Yeah.
you try to you filter it out. It's like, okay, he's doing something really dangerous. I know what he's trying to do, but I'm not gonna do the dangerous thing. But I will remember what he's doing.
Yeah, yeah. I worked with a guy. He thought it would be funny to pretend like he got electrocuted and fell on the ground. Didn't know my dad was an electrician, so I walked up and I kicked him, and I'm like, "Well, time for break," and walked off. He got up trying to see where I went, and I was in the break room eating. And he was like, "What did you? I could have died." I'm like, and that wouldn't have changed anything. So I went to lunch. Like,
I gave you a kick. You're good.
yeah, yeah, And then he realized, when he went to report me to the other boss and heard what my last name was, he knew my dad. And he's like, "Oh, I'm going to kill him."
Ah,
Yeah.
nice. Kitty Bear says, that said, science and math were my strong points. For science, I wasn't even allowed in class after a week, only allowed in for tests. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, are you still at the same place or have you moved on since?
Yeah, I'm still at the same place. Yeah, I mean,
Nice.
I got seniority now, so if I want to take days off and stuff, and I can bump people.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah. You're up the ladder. That's all right.
yeah, yeah, that's
And
quite nice. And there's also some great construction companies out there. I worked for them, but the only problem with that is no matter how good they are subject to the economy. When there aren't any jobs, they can't put you to work.
yeah,
So
you're basically you're waiting for things to be built. It's like you're
yeah,
waiting for projects to start, and it's like, please start this project, and then there's red tape involved sometimes, and things get canceled and move around, and yeah, it's you're on the whim of the economy, like you say.
yep. The 2020, we all know what happened. I know we're on YouTube, so I won't say, but we all know what happened in 2020. It was rough for construction, but with my company where I was at in maintenance, they still were up and running. They just sent home a lot of people. I had enough seniority to stay working.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it was rough. Those were rough years, and
Yeah.
I was in the same boat as you. I saw a lot of people work from home. I can't work from home, so I just
Oh,
kept going to work. You know, so it was tough for a lot of people.
yeah.
So you do, so you're in the maintenance side of things, and you figure that's it's a little more brain work than it is when you're doing construction, because you're just like pulling cable, putting cable tray down, reading drawings, figuring out where to put this thing, that thing, all brand new construction. It's nice, clean, relatively
Yep.
speaking.
Yeah. They pretty
Maintenance,
much
a
they'll
little
tell
different.
you exactly. Yeah. Construction that if some places will have the blueprint for you, this is where read it, do it. Some places they'll tell you, hey, this is what you need to do, and they, leave you to it. Uh, and maintenance, they'll hand you, this isn't working. This fan isn't working. This exhaust fan for a building isn't working. You have to figure out why. Is it because the breaker tripped? Is it because there's a problem with the wiring? Is the motor bad? Is it seized up? You just basically have to run tests on all those things. And those can be trickier with PLCs and stuff like that, of course. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Troubleshooting. Yep. That's like the hardest thing to do, troubleshooting, especially if the problem is intermittent and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, what's going on? Why is this shutting off? Why is it doing this? Yeah. And you're saying a PLC, is a computer involved? Is it trying to run this thing? Is somebody screwing around with with the handoff auto switch? Is somebody messing around in that regard? Because let's face it, operators make most of their own trouble.
yes, yeah, I've seen them just completely reprogram something. Oh, that I don't like that beat, and they completely reprogram something.
And they're
So
allowed to do that. That's crazy.
yeah, well, I mean, they're not allowed, but you can't prove they did.
No, okay. Got to
Yeah.
catch him, eh?
Yep.
So Kitty Bear says, I pulled those pranks myself. He also got electrocuted for real several times, sometimes on purpose, sometimes by accident, because fellow workers messed up the wiring. Yeesh.
I've seen it. I've seen it. I've dealt with some old buildings that are 50 years old, and 100 people have gone in there and rewired stuff, you know, and you get shocked. You'll get bit a few times.
Yeah. And I guess that's one of my questions to you is, have you ever gotten like a very severe shock from any of the work you've
Yeah,
done?
I've been shocked many, many times. When I first started, it was okay to work everything hot, energized, just, don't touch the copper. Um, but the worst I think I ever got hit was a 277 neutral that the wire came up and hit me on the bottom of my lip.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, that hurt pretty bad.
Because that takes the quickest path to ground, and that goes through you. That would have went through your heart, wouldn't it? Down to your feet.
It it could have. It could have. Well, I was on a ladder, but I was holding the some pipe with my other hand.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'd actually turned that circuit off, but it was a shared neutral. So it had the unbalanced load from the other current or the other circuits attached to that neutral, which you're not supposed to do that, but the building was so old they did it at the time.
Ah, yes. It was up to code during that time,
Hmm. Some
probably.
buildings are
And
so old they're not even grounded. You got to know what you're doing, where you're at.
oh,
Yeah.
would they not try to update that? Like, even if no matter how old the building is, wouldn't they be like, okay, well, we got to try to ground this thing?
No, no, they don't
Oh,
do it unless they have to because it costs a lot of money. I mean, a lot. So it could be several $1 million to update a building. They don't do it unless the code requires them to, which is, at least in Florida, it's a if they do a certain amount of repairs or updates to a building, then they have to make the whole building meet code. So
okay. Huh. Yeah, I guess that would. Yeah, it must be the costs. Yeah, it's the costs that keep people from
yeah,
doing that.
I mean, we're talking about several million to do that kind of stuff in a big enough building.
DJ Ronnie G says neutral's weird to me. Seems like
It
it's not
can be,
quite neutral, more like hot.
yeah. I mean, it can be if you're on the other side of it. It completes the circuit. Yeah.
Okay.
Back in the old buildings, it used to be, you know, knob and tube days. You only had two wires, hot and neutral. That's it.
Okay.
There's
Yeah,
some building
that's
homes around here like that too.
yeah, and it's like, wow, how haven't these things burnt down or anything already?
Exactly. Well, there's a reason you don't see many old homes in Florida.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Um, what's your preference as far as tools go? Are you strictly, do you like just decline or green line or greenly or anything like that?
I'm a Klein guy. Just
Okay.
always had them. So you trust them.
They're
You
good
trust.
tools.
Yep. You beat them real hard. And sometimes, well, at least when now you're not allowed to, now they don't want you to work anything hot. It's OSHA says not to. So back when I started, nobody cared. And yeah, when your life's on the line, you want something you can trust.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be able to have something where it's not gonna fail on you. It's not gonna be cheap
Exactly.
Chinese garbage.
Hmm. You don't want it shattering in your hand. And
Nope.
yep.
Nope. That's good. Klein. Yeah, I've used Klein before. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Kitty Bear says there's only one time he got really mad and got into a fight with a painter who turned on the power after cutting off my lock in a fuse box and electrocuted me. Well, that guy could have been
Out of
charged because you can't chop locks off.
no, no. But I would have gotten a fight with him too.
Oh yeah, no, there's jail time for
Yeah.
that. Like um, up here and up, I'm sure everywhere they frown upon doing stuff like that. You're not supposed to touch a lock when it's locked out. There's a big procedure in order to remove a lock, let alone, just randomly cutting it off and turning on a breaker.
Yeah, it's a criminal offense here.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. And like you're saying, they used to work on things hot, and I remember those days too. But yeah, they really don't like it anymore. They like it to be, zero energy, and only then you can work on it.
Yeah, and I understand it. It can be very dangerous. I mean, I've done
Yeah.
some crazy stuff.
Oh well, do tell. Let's let's
well,
let's take it.
well,
Let's take a dive into some of that stuff because you know all
well. I mean,
apprentices. Well, sorry, I was going to say all apprentices have stories of them screwing up when they're apprentices, right?
well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily screwing up. I did it on purpose. Um, Like you want to find a circuit. What's the fastest way to do it? You take the hot and you rub it onto the ground. It'll trip the breaker out.
Yep.
Fortunately, on old buildings, it doesn't always trip the breaker. Sometimes it just solders the hot to the ground
Oh,
of the box, and just you can hear the pipes just shaking, the wires shaking in the pipe and starting to heat up. Yeah, I've had that a few times.
okay.
Yeah,
You're like, this isn't working. Oh no.
nope. Pull it, cut it. Yeah, yeah.
Uh, that's all right.
Well, probably one of the most craziest, dangerous things is we used to have these lightning arresters and light poles, like in parking lots. I don't think they use them anymore. And what their purpose was is they would blow out in case lightning struck the pole to
Mm.
keep it from damaging the wires. Well, the problem is if those lightning arresters got old, they would start to arc and spark, and they would destroy all the wires inside the pole. And I opened up a pole one time, and flames about 7 feet long started shooting out of the pole.
Whoa.
So I've got my channel locks grabbing a hold of the lightning arresters, and I'm using my clients to cut the leads to that lightning arrestor
Oof.
as flames are just wildly shooting out. Yeah.
And that's terrible stuff too. Everybody, if you haven't smelled burning electrical, the stuff is just toxic and it's just the worst, absolute worst smell you could ever get. It's just that's awful.
Yep. And if you get shocked really hard, you taste copper.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Taste your fillings.
Yeah.
Punkwall says, nope, cutting a lock is no good. And you are correct, sir. Kitty Bear, maybe in the US, not here. They get a slap on the wrist, at worst, lose their job. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Happens when the grounding is bad. You like the smell of burning electrical? Okay. That's pretty nasty smelling stuff. So you've been in the trade for a lot of years. So what's some of the craziest things you've seen people do?
I mean, wow. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
some of the stuff, it's like going what Kitty Bear was saying. I thought someone cut my lock off one time. I was changing out an outlet, and I turned the breaker off. I put my lock on it, and I go and take the breaker out. I put the new breaker on. I'm starting to put it inside the box, and it's energized, and it bites me. I get a little shocked. I instantly in my head, I think somebody cut my lock off and turned it on. I run over the breaker, just like Kitty Bear was saying, ready to beat somebody. My lock was still on it.
Oh.
And I found out because I've traced out the other circuit. Somebody on a 208 motor, a two pole motor, it uses the two hots. So one of the hots completes the circuit. And that's what they did. They used the power for that outlet to power the other half of a motor. So when that motor kicked on, it just sent the current right to me.
Oh man.
And it's just somebody was installing a motor and didn't pay attention to where they got the power from.
Yeah.
So, that kind of stuff can hurt or kill people.
Yeah. And that's what we want to avoid out there. Like you guys that are thinking about getting into trades, or people that want to know more about them, is you definitely got to be wary of the people working around you. And always, and I know you probably have Irate, you probably have a tester that you use no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the circuit is dead, you either have a little voltage tick or a little tester you can just put on there and make sure there's no voltage before you even touch the thing.
Yeah, I use the tick tracer to verify if it's got voltage, and I use my meter to double make sure. I don't like to take a cover off. I actually had this happen. I've seen the outside of a light pole. The grounding was bad. The hot flipped over and it energized the entire pole. So if you lean over, you put a knee on the ground, you lean up to grab the pole, to take the cover off and you get zapped. You know, you'd have no
Oh,
way of knowing something happened, but you use that little tick tracer, you know, it'll let you know
yeah.
whether it's energized or not.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And for those people who don't know what that is, I'm gonna just see if I can't find one here. Uh, see here. I'll bring it up. Oh yeah, there we go. And then I'll just go like this. Like this. There you go. This is what we're talking about. So this is like a voltage tick tracer, like Irate was saying, and one from Klein. Buy it on Amazon
Klein
if you
makes
want.
Klein makes one that does temperature and the voltage as well.
Oh, that
Yeah.
that I did not know. That is neat. But yeah, these I've seen these around lots. You know, all electricians they keep them in their pocket, easy to get at, and they're always pulling them out and just checking, check, 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 check all the time, just to make sure they they don't get shocked because it's well, what's the least amount of amperage that will kill you? Like, you know,
Five
it's
hundredths of an amp. It's very small. It's just the right amount of amperage going over your heart. So I think it's either 5/10ths or 500ths of an amperage will kill you.
so there you go. Very, very little will take you out. And you don't want it, you don't want that to happen. You want to live. You know, you want to live, you want to have a good life, you want to live a long life, and you have to be there's people that need you because that's why you're working. You're working to support yourself and other people, your family, and you got to be around for them for a lot of years. So don't get shocked. Like Kitty Bear
I will.
says, he likes the smell a whole lot better than a litter box.
That's true.
And DJ Ronnie G, is this the most shocking episode ever?
Well, thank you.
You learn never to trust people you work with. Always check it yourself. Yes, that is the rule.
Absolutely.
It doesn't even have to be of not trusting them. It's like, no, I'm just it's good habit to get into and check it all the time.
Everybody makes mistakes on some things, especially the more dangerous ones. It helps to have a second person just watching to make sure you don't make one.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. When we're doing stuff where I'm at, they write out a work permit for every job you have to do. And there's a guy that writes it out and there's a guy that verifies it. And he's not even the
Yeah,
one. And then there's the guy that's accepting the work permit. So if I need to do something, it's got to go through two people and then I sign it. So they should be able to catch everything so that you don't get hurt.
there you go. Safety first. Or as Mike
Yep.
Rowe would say, safety third. I don't know if you ever heard that, Mike Rowe.
No, I know who Mike Rowe is, but what's with the safety third?
Well, when you're working someplace, your boss, what's his primary concern? Making money.
Yeah.
That's his first priority. Second priority is make sure people do their job. The third is making sure you're safe. All those other things come first to a company you work for. So to
Yes.
them, your safety is third, but to you, your safety should be number one.
Yes. You always want to go home the way you came to work every
Yeah.
day.
If your boss says do this, just don't say, okay, my safety is important, so it's got to be safe. No, your safety is third to them. So you got to make sure it's safe for yourself.
That's right. And we actually have something here called the right of refusal. I don't know if it's the same in the US, but it's legislated that you have the right to refuse unsafe work without repercussions.
No, we don't have that here, but the union I'm a part of does have something like that.
Yeah, so that's how you do it then. You go through those guys.
Yeah. And the company I
Kitty,
work for as well. So,
oh, that's good. Kitty Bear says he made the mistake once. His boss told you to install an outlet and the wires were on the second group. The wires weren't on the second group, so you got shocked. Yeah, once again, listening to your boss.
yep.
came running to me because the moment I got shocked, everything in the building turned off and the emergency lights came on. That's you're taking out like the whole building. That's crazy.
That could be like an arc fault system. They're very sensitive for things like that.
Oh yeah. Jeez.
Like I remember when arc fault first came out, if you had an old incandescent light bulb in it and it blew, it'd take out the whole circuit.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's yeah, that's amazing that it would do that. Take out everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they do it to save lives.
See, I knew that with GFCIs they do something like that. They kind of watch the voltage between each line.
Yeah.
I believe that's how it does it. It watches it, and if there's a discrepancy, it just kicks out right away.
Yes. Yes. Only if you have a hot and neutral. Apparently, from my experience, if you put two different phases, and Kitty Bear will probably think I'm insane, but I've seen this happen by accident one time. Somebody wired up an outlet like this. If you wire up a GFCI to 208, two different phases, it won't trip.
Oh,
Yeah. I didn't even know it was possible.
yeah.
Kept melting hair. It was in a bathroom and it kept melting hair dryers. I go in to check it and I put my meter on it and it said 208. First time.
And you're like, that's not right. That's double what it should be.
Yeah. I guess for a non-electrician, you have like you have three phases in commercial buildings. You got a black, red, blue, and they
Yeah.
had like the black and red connected to the hot and neutral of the GFCI outlet.
Oof.
Yeah.
People were getting their hair dried in a hurry, it sounds like.
Yeah, really fast.
So we've gone through sort of like your your beginnings there and the education you went through and how it's not that difficult. There is that math you were saying and how
Yeah, it's
they'll teach you like regional things, uh, varies by region. Can you go to a different state and practice being an electrician? Is that allowed?
yes, yes. It kind of depends on certain laws. I mean, I know here in Florida, there are some things you're required to have a license for, and there's some things you're not. So for maintenance, you're not required to have a license. It's up to employer's discretion with maintenance for maintaining things. Um, for and doing like, let's say you want to do residential work for people, they'll hire you. If you want to install something new, you have to pull a permit. But here in Florida, the homeowner can pull the permit and you can do the job for them.
Okay,
But if
yeah,
you
I've
want
heard
to
of that.
pull, yeah, but if you want to pull a permit yourself, you do have to have a license. I'm not sure how it works for other states. I've never was a traveler. I know a lot of people were. I never heard of them having an issue out of licenses. But a lot of times you can work under another master electrician's license. So as long as somebody on the site has a license, it's okay.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, Punk Waddle, you're taking off for prep for Heat of Fridays. All right, buddy, you have a good one. We'll see you
Sounds
around.
good. Have a good day.
Kitty Bear, everyone makes mistakes sometimes. You made yours too. Yeah, of course, everyone makes mistakes
Oh,
as
yeah.
long as you learn from them.
I
Talking about
still,
talking about traveling around. Up here, we have what's called a red seal, and that's a little extra exam you do after your fourth year, and all that means is that you can just travel in between provinces. That's all that means.
we don't have anything like that. We have the license you can take, and that varies by county on the requirements you need to take. You need to have like work experience versus school experience. That varies depending on the county you are at, and yeah, we don't have anything like extra classes.
Okay.
The government just wants the money from the license.
Yeah, I guess you'd see that. But as long as I think if the company wants to sleep well at night, the people that run the company, it would definitely pay them to hire somebody that is ticketed and can do all that stuff and has proven competency and on all that.
Yes. Yeah, some companies don't. Some don't even do that for electricians. Like that job where the guy hooked up the 208 to the GFCI, that
Yeah.
they got a day laborer. They just picked up a day laborer at Home Depot or something, and then they gave him a set of tools, and he worked underneath the master electrician's license,
Right.
and then you end up with stuff like that.
Yeah, that's stuff I don't agree with. They
Yeah,
shouldn't be doing stuff like that.
and the inspector should have caught it, but they don't always do their job.
Oh yeah. Skitty Bear say he once placed the ground in the place of the neutral in an outlet. Every time the outlet we used, the power went off.
Oh, jeez.
Well, you do that once or twice and you're like, power's going off for some reason. I better check that circuit again.
Well, here in this country, they paint all the ground wires green, and then all the screws on the outlet green. So it kind of makes it.
Yeah. But Kitty Bear, I believe, is in
Norway,
Holland. Holland?
Holland, maybe.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Kitty Bear. I know I'm pretty sure that's where I thought you were at. But you'll probably yell at me for not remembering.
Yeah.
His mistake was he didn't check the outlets we got to work with. The new ones had the ground and neutral in different places than the ones he was used to. Oh, so changing up the design, eh? Okay.
Yeah, here we have our outlets are kind of like shaped like a person making an O face. The ground is on the bottom, and it like so it'll go O, and then you got the two eyes are your hot and neutral. The hot's
There
the
you go.
smaller one, and then the ground goes on the bottom most all places, but in hospitals it's ground up.
Ground up. Okay.
So you turn the receptacle upside down, but that's a requirement in hospitals to have the ground up.
Oh, wonder why that is. Any idea?
In case the outlet starts to slip out and something comes across it, it won't trip the circuit. It hits the ground first.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Yeah. Yep.
Huh. I wonder if that's like that here too. I wonder. No, that's just little stuff like that. You never think about it.
Yeah. Well, I know here in this country, we go off the NEC, National Electric Code. Don't know if it's adopted in Canada. It might be. But yeah, it's here that the people who write that code are master electricians. Unfortunately, it's people within the companies that work there. So sometimes they'll push to have rules in place in the NEC that benefits the companies, like the arc fault breakers. Yeah, I knew someone that was on the board, and they told me the reason they're going to arc fault breakers is the company, I believe it was Square D, had a patent on it, was trying to push to have them installed everywhere because of money.
Yeah. Oh, it benefits them for sure. Oh, you're going to need.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we carry that breaker. Oh, how coincidence. You guys need a lot of them, eh?
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll license you to make them under our name. Well, under our patent.
Yeah, that's slimy there. That's just not good. What's he saying here? Neutral, blue, ground, green, yellow, hot, brown.
Okay. Yeah, the neutral is a blue. The ground is either green or yellow, and the hot is brown. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And there we go. He's in the Netherlands. There you go. I thought it was that place.
Here it's green for ground, but you can have a green with the yellow stripe for an isolated ground for computers. Neutral is either gray or white, and it's white for 12208 and gray for 277 480.
Okay, so all sorts of different.
Oh yeah, the color codings, and AC has a completely different color coding as well too. Yeah.
So I was able to do a little bit of electrical when I first started my apprenticeship because my journeyman at the time was an electrician, and I got my first shock. What is it? 277. Some 3-phase lighting that they had in, and I just finished putting the Moret on the wire and pushing it into the box. and I don't know if a piece of the wire was sticking out of the moret, but I went to push the cover back on, a metal cover on the junction box, and I was using my thumbs and I pushed up, and yeah, I got a shock, pretty good, and I just I just I fell to my knees and I looked over at my journeyman and I'm like, I just got a shock, and he starts pointing. He's like, come down, come down. So had to do that, and yeah, just rest for a bit because yeah, that was a good zap. I didn't care for it.
I've been zapped enough times; it doesn't bother me.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
And
you need the old.
believe it or not, so if resistance makes a difference. So I used to work with a journeyman. He was 81 or 71, sorry, 71. And his hands, when you shook them, felt like the skin of an alligator. They're so calloused over.
Oh wow.
He could walk up and open up a panel and stick his hands inside the panel across both phases. And the skin had so much resistance in it because it's all dry and cracked, it wouldn't electrocute him. He wouldn't even feel it.
Crazy.
Yeah, and put the tick tracer on him, put it next to his chest, and the tick tracer's going off. Yeah.
And you said he was 71, so maybe he was doing that just to get a bit of a jump start.
That's it. He needed it. He had a 35-year-old wife. He needed the jump start. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a 5-year-old daughter. Yeah.
Man. Good for him.
Yeah. Total of 13 kids.
Whew.
Yeah. He needed the jump start.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yep.
So what is like the biggest thing you've ever installed? Like, is there something that's like brought in on like a flat deck and they're like, hey, this has to go in,
Probably the biggest thing is, it wasn't one particular piece of equipment. It was just doing the high voltage. We would have to have a dually truck diesel to haul around the cable reels. And what we were doing was underground installation, of, I think it was 500 MCM wire, which is like what you'd have to power, a neighborhood. But this particular area was running underground. So we had to carry these reels of wires in, and then, you get 3 of them and you're just feeding them into this pipe. They were quite heavy and large.
Yeah.
Very
and for those, you'd use this thing, wouldn't you? Just let me see here. Use one of these guys, wouldn't you?
No, that's
Tugger?
too small.
It's too small.
No, so you know what a fish tape is, right?
Yep.
They had a fish tape that was attached to a large one that was attached to a truck. So it was actually a hydraulic truck, and you'd feed it down into the pipe, you'd attach the wires to it, and then pull it out with that. And it was just basically, and it would retract like a fish tape in your hand, but it was a giant truck.
I have never seen anything that big.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, someone on one of the sites I was working for, they had I don't remember the name of it. It's so long ago, but it's basically something to feed the wire down into the manhole. And they had it attached with a little come along, so it would, be tied down on the bottom and it wouldn't rip out. So just feed the wire nice and neat into the pipe. Well, they were trying to pull it out, and they had a crane, and the come along wasn't coming out. So the guy started to pull really hard. You can see the crane start bending, and all of a sudden that piece, which was probably about 5 feet long and just a bunch of guides for the wire, just came shooting out of the manhole and clipped the guy right on his hard hat. Cut into the hard hat. Didn't hit his head, just the hard hat, but with such force, it pushed him back 2 feet, and he hit the trailer and dented it.
Whew.
Yeah. because he was well, stupid enough to look down in the manhole to see what was going on when they're putting all that tension on it.
That, yeah, that's, I always cringe. I get a bad feeling, in my skin, like starts crawling when stuff like that, when people start putting extra force on things, and you got the high hydraulic pressure or whatever it is, the tension, and it's just like, something's going to go sideways. Like, this is not the good thing to do.
Yeah, all because the person that was down in the manhole didn't detach the come along, and the person on the crane didn't think this isn't coming up easily. Let's stop. He just nope, more power.
See, that's crane operator. A good crane operator would be like what you said there, and they'd be like, okay, I'm putting too much tension on my crane, and I'm not gonna endanger anybody. So, but guys that just want to add more power, well, they're gonna
They
suffer
put
the
an electrician as
consequences.
the crane operator. It wasn't a licensed
No.
crane operator. Yeah,
Oh.
I can do this. It's easy, you know.
Oh man. Yeah, that's not good. I've done some crane operating, but where I'm at, you can operate a up to 8.5 ton crane. Obviously, you go through the training course and all that, and then you do get your hours on it. But yeah, I've know all about load radiuses and stuff like that, and how you have to not overstress the crane, because you, the crane operator, are responsible for the entire job that's going on there, and you will be the one that's held accountable.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I've never did any crane work. The most I've done is been in the line truck. So, the you see
Yeah,
the high
what's a line?
voltage guys with them, the
Okay,
big
so
trucks that drive
line.
around the high. Go ahead.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just asking, like, explain to us, please, what a line truck does, because I don't know.
Well, if you ever seen the news, I mean, we see it all the time here with a hurricane or any kind of snowstorm. Maybe you have all those trucks from the power company lined up with the buckets on the back of them. Those are the line
Okay.
trucks. Yeah, they just
Okay, and
there's
those.
the big bucket truck that you position high up in the air to work on the high voltage lines or anything like that. And they do have little crane attachments on some of them. Here
Okay,
you have to have a
and
commercial driver's license to drive them.
all right, yeah. So they want your CDL. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh, it looks like, and I'm just checking over some of the pictures here. Um, Actually, that's not good. I don't like Google for images. I like DuckDuckGo because they do an excellent job on images. If
Yeah, same here.
you ever want to do find an image or whatever, use DuckDuckGo.
I avoid a lot of Google stuff, to be honest.
No, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
If you can.
Google is like I'm using the Chrome browser for this because I have so many ad blockers and stuff on my other browser. It tends to interfere with certain things.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I use Brave, and I actually Angry Canadian turned me on to Brave, and I'm loving it. It's a good browser. But yeah, there you go. There's a line truck right there.
Yes, that's it.
And they vary in heights. I'm guessing you can get what,
Yep.
55 feet, 40 feet.
Yeah, I think the biggest is 90 feet.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's one of the ones we have.
so you've been up in nine. You've been up in 90 feet in the air.
Yes. Yeah.
Must not be scared of heights then.
Ironically, and this is kind of silly because I'm an electrician, I don't like being on ladders. I'm a little unstable. Um, but being up 90 feet plus in the air doesn't bother me a bit because my feet are in a solid platform with things around the edge. I'm fine. But on the ladder, I don't like it because I just got my 2 feet on the pegs.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I
And
get
yet
it.
I'm an electrician.
Yeah, and I get it. And there's a lot of ladder accidents, and that's mostly because guys reaching too far.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if anybody's out there knows the belt buckle rule, keep your belt buckle
Yep.
between the rails of the ladder, otherwise you're going to fall over.
I haven't always done that either.
Ah, in old buildings, red hot, black neutral, green or blue ground. Really old buildings, no color coding. My house had all three when you moved in. Yeah, but that's in the Netherlands, so it might be a little bit different there, Kitty Bear. Even licensed crane operators screw up. There are idiots in every profession. True, but you
Yes,
hope
there is.
that there's less. You know.
Well, that's why you put your safety first, because
Yep,
you don't know if the person on the other end's an idiot.
that's right. And the power to stop a job is great if you feel that things are not going the way they should, and to always be able to reevaluate how things are, and then making it so that, because ultimately an accident will cost the company so much more money than just doing it the safe way.
Exactly. And most managers don't think of that. They just want to show off to their boss. Look, we got this done in record time. You know,
Whoa, yeah.
they don't think about the consequences of what could go wrong.
That's right. But and it might be different in Florida, but up here, if things go wrong and there's an accident, an incident, anything like that, the worker can get fined, but then his
Hmm.
boss can get fined even more, and then the guy above him can get fined even more or jail time. So it's it's in their best interest not to have anything like that happen.
Yeah, we have OSHA here, and it's very similar. Yeah, if you get hurt and OSHA says, "Hey, that's your fault," they can fine you.
Yep.
Yeah, yep.
Yep. But
And the
it'll work
company
its way
cannot
up.
make that payment for you. That you have to pay for that out of pocket.
That's right. Yeah. And it can work its way up the ladder too. So your
Yeah,
supervisor who let you get away with whatever you're doing, or the guy above him. So I do think that managers and supervisors need to be a little more afraid. Uh, that way that'll stop them from doing the stupid stuff or making people do stupid stuff to get hurt.
it helps if you have a manager that's experienced in the field where you're doing your
Yes.
job. You know,
Yep.
you get some electrical engineer that graduated from college, and he's out there trying to tell, a mechanic or electrician or carpenter how to do their job, and you don't even know how to you never used a screwdriver in your life. You can't tell me how to do my job.
Oh, he'll just get laughed off the site. Like, really,
Yeah,
honestly, he'll be like, yeah, haha, funny. Go away, kid.
exactly.
Kitty Bear, was also afraid of heights. Not anymore. Well, that's good. Something you got over. Yeah, I remember doing some dumb things like I was pulling some speaker cable between two purlins because I couldn't reach it with a genie lift or anything like that. So I just climbed up the ladder between two purlins and shuffled my way along, pulling the wire in my teeth, and just got it to where it needed to go and put it through the wall, I guess. And that was good enough. But that was dumb looking back on it. That was dumb.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen some. I used to think I did some crazy stuff, but I've seen people do, especially with electrical. I've seen people wire up exit signs with a shoestring to hang it with, and an extension cord to plug it into the wall. That's how they made the exit sign work. Uh-huh. Like, come
Oy,
on.
where's your professionalism? Like, come on, your pride in your
Exactly.
work.
Well, that's the problem. A lot of times these people aren't electricians.
Okay, yeah.
They didn't go through an apprenticeship school or anything like that. They sometimes lie on their resumes with these companies and they get the job. In commercial, industrial, pretty much anything outside of residential, all your wires have to be in some kind of piping. Um, I've seen people. Well, this one guy, he was a day laborer, lied on the resume, and got a job as an electrician, and he ran the entire hot, neutral, and ground in the ceiling, just laying it across the ceiling. Didn't pipe into anything, put wire nuts in between and everything.
Oy.
That's just an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, that's oh man, I just get it just makes me afraid. Like, why is my building burning down? Yeah, it's because you got the day laborer to lay hot neutral in the ceiling, no conduit,
Yeah.
no nothing like that.
Yeah. And I mean, on the company's behalf, they didn't know any better. The guy lied on his resume.
Yes, yeah. So I've had that happen before too, where I was at, um, and you can really sniff those guys out right away. This one
Hmm.
fella, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a welder, a fitter, and a millwright," and we're like, "Wow, you got 3 trades tickets." Okay. And he couldn't weld. He was not a fitter by any means, and his millwrighting was less than stellar. And we brought it up to the company. We're like, "We don't think this guy is what he says he is," you know, and no, they didn't get rid of him. They were still happy to have him around, but we told them, you don't let him weld any structural, otherwise we're walking off the job here. So
Yeah.
he didn't get any welding jobs, because I could show you I have actually have pictures of some of the work he did, and whew, terrible.
Yeah.
But having to deal with that, having to have people lie on their resumes, they don't get vetted. I don't know what it's like there, but um, on our journeyman card, it has a number. You can go to the website for the trades in this province, and you type in that number, and it'll pop up. Yep, name, and yes, he's certified in this trade. Boom, just like that, easily done.
This guy, he had some friends lie for him. So it didn't have a number like you had. It was just basically, this is who I worked for before. If you called them, they were his friends who did own a company that was willing to lie for him.
Oh,
And he did have schooling, but no on the job training. So he was able to get a job as an electrician just on the schooling with no on the job training. He didn't know how to put on a wire nut. He didn't know any of that stuff.
yikes.
Yeah.
Not much you can do then, right? If they've got people that are going to vouch for him, I mean, that's it. I mean,
And he ended up getting fired. You can only make so many mistakes before the boss just throws you off.
yeah, yeah. What's Kitty Bear saying here? Your house was built as an emergency housing after World War II. It had copper wires wrapped in cloth, so no color coding. In the 80s and the 90s, they added more wiring for appliances. You removed that all. Oh, I hope so. Wrapped in cloth. Have you ever seen? I guess I would ask you, Irate, what's the oldest thing you've seen? Like that's you're like, wow, they still use this. This thing is, so old.
Dealing with a lot of where I'm at now, commercial. I try to avoid residential. Um, I wouldn't say I've seen anything that old. I know that they do have knob and tube wiring here. I've just never seen it. And it's not even wrapped in cloth. I mean, it's not anymore. The cloth is all corroded. And so you just basically have your bare copper wires that wrap around a non-conductive tube. That's how they call it, knob and tube. It wraps around this glass tube that and then it goes and feeds your outlets and stuff. Um,
Okay,
that's probably what he's referring to. That's probably was the technology. I mean, was the technology back then. I've never seen it myself.
yeah, I
I
I
have
don't
seen
think I have either.
I have seen some old industrial buildings that, like I said, they didn't have the grounding wires to them, and the electrical wires are so bitter and frayed. If you moved them too much, the insulation would crack. Um, I was doing some work in an aquarium, and they had a massive fish die off. Yeah, there you go, knob and tube. Yep. But yeah, I was working this aquarium. And they had a massive fish die off. 3/4 of their fish died, and it
Oh,
was it was an electrical short in the pump for the water, and they had no grounding, so it just energized all the water and killed the fish.
oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking at this, that is amazing. Like it's just got the insulators that looks like the wire
Hmm.
just goes around.
Yeah.
Oh man. And then it goes to that light bulb. It's a fluorescent compact fluorescent light bulb.
Yeah.
You can change the light bulb, but you didn't want to change the fixture. Okay.
Yeah, that would cost a lot of money to have an electrician come out and rewire your entire home. I mean, tens of
Mm,
thousands of dollars and more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was the code at the time, so that's why they got away with it. I guess it's just grandfathered in.
Yes. I think there's certain things like if you go to sell a home in Florida now, I believe you have to put it up to code before selling it.
Okay, that there you go.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. If I'm 90% sure of that. I've known people that did work for real estate people just to get the house up to code. So, which if you
Okay.
were a homeowner and lived in a home for 30 years and hired your buddy down the street that said he was a quote unquote electrician, um, and he was a day laborer, and he you could spend tens of thousands of dollars having your home rewired.
Yeah.
So, but say
Uh,
that out of personal experience, I knew someone that had that happen.
oh, Kitty Bear. This is what he had beneath his floor and ceiling at a few points. There you go.
There
Exactly
you
what
go.
exactly what we're talking about. So, um, I know every place has its ups and downs, but do you feel that you get up and go to work and you're happy to go to work? Like this is something that's very rewarding, fulfilling to you. Like you go to work with a smile on your face.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, it's not. It's a great living. It's a great way to put food on the table. A great way to provide for your family, and it's a great way to be able to afford to do the things you really want to do. You know, if you are passionate about something, when I was in high school, I wanted to. You know, I was took a film school class, and I really wanted to do something like that for a living. You can't. That's like winning the lotto to even get a career in that. So I did this, and it may not be what I'm passionate about, but it affords me money enough to afford to do what I want to do, which is, I'm starting to make films and shows. So yeah, I can't complain about it. It's not a horrible job. I do like it compared to other jobs I've done. It's a great way to make a living.
Yeah, and you probably uh, reached a point in your life, and it seems that you're around the same age bracket as I am. Um, I just turned 50 this year, so um,
45.
45. Okay, yeah, not
Yeah.
far off. So we're at the point in our careers where we're kind of staring at retirement coming up, and it's like trying to settle in for your last move before like if you're planning on moving jobs or whatever, you settle on your last move, and this is going to be the job you're going to retire with, and it's
Yeah.
it's it's a good pay, like you say. And as for myself, I really do like repairing and installing equipment. It's you know a it's a lot better because I've moved to a different company than I was at before. I used to be in waste management, and it was really literally dealing with human waste and garbage. And now I'm in the chemical plant, and it's way different. So it's I've gone from being 80% on the tools to 80% paperwork, 20% on the tools, which is okay. I'm okay with that. I don't need to be running off to the next breakdown like I used to.
I I do a lot of service work on call. So I drive a van, and a lot of it's more is behind the windshield. And I do love the freedom. It's not for everybody. I've had apprentices come in that hate having to drive around all the time. They like to be in one central spot. So they go to work, working on a job site where they're there all the time, or even maintenance in a smaller company where they're at that one place. There's whatever your personality affords you, you can do it.
Yep. Yep. And that's true. And so have you had your fair share of apprentices then? Ones people that have stuck around, and have you turned them into journeymen?
Yes, yes, I have. Yeah, and I haven't had too many recently, but I did start noticing a definitely an attitude change in a lot of apprentices. I don't know if you noticed that a lack of caring for the craft, the trade, or even learning. Yeah, when I was an apprentice, man, I was eager to learn what I was doing. I was eager to jump in and do the work, and I've just seems like I've seen less of that eagerness.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I could see that. I haven't had an apprentice for a while, but the ones I have had were really good.
Yeah.
Um, Actually, I had one on here, I don't know, a couple months back, and she was great. Like, I was glad I was able to be her journeyman to help teach her, some of the pass on some of the things I've learned, and she really took it to heart. And the way you're saying is, I don't know if I'd want to meet up with a newer apprentice, because if they have that kind of attitude, I'd be like, you know what, just you don't want to be here, so you should just not be in the trade.
Exactly. And it's maybe it's just the area I'm living at. That's how the young people behave. You know,
Yeah,
I
and
don't
it's a
want to say
shame.
because yeah, yeah, it is. It is, and it's going to hurt them later on when they become a journeyman because they're going to turn to them as the experts.
Yes. Yeah, once you
Yeah.
get your ticket, and I don't know if you notice this, but all of a sudden you get your ticket, you're a journeyman, all of a sudden the management's like, well, you should know this, you're the journeyman.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep.
no,
The
no, no,
first two
hang
years
on.
of a journeyman, the first 2 years of being a journeyman was the hardest because they turn to you for everything. You need to know this like the guy who did it for 20 years knows. You know,
Yes.
hold
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
No, and yeah, so you get it too. It's like, listen, give me a bit, give me a while, because I'm just a new journeyman. I have to, you know, I have to learn as well. You don't stop learning, you keep learning,
Oh
and you
yeah.
try to, you try to do the best that you can. But they have to realize that their expectations can't be so high that they are disappointed in you when you don't, like, giving them an instant answer or whatever.
Exactly. And it has how vast the electrical trade is, what an electrician covers. They'll walk up to a guy who's been doing high voltage for the last 10 years and be like, "Hey, fix that outlet."
Oh
So yeah,
yeah.
you get that. That's yeah, you're always learning.
Yeah, and that's up to them. It's up to the management and the company to realize that, to know the limitations. You can't get a high voltage guy to go over and change that outlet instantly. You know,
Exactly.
you got to be more realistic, and some of them don't get that.
So,
It's Kitty Bear saying here, he's, so
yeah.
what's so nuts in his country? This is allowed in my house. It was placed back in the days when it was the code. It's still considered up to code, even though the code has changed. Yes. Mess with it like you did, no longer up to code, and the house needs to be reinspected. Check if it's up to new code. And you have to ask
That's
Irate
why you met.
Specialist.
I was gonna say that's
Mhm.
why you just don't tell people you've messed with it.
Yes. It's like, shh, quiet.
Yeah.
He wants to ask you, what is the weirdest thing that you've had hit your hard hat? The weirdest thing.
I mean, wouldn't say anything too particularly weird. I mean, I've been hit in the head with the little hook for a crane once or twice.
Oh,
You know, that's what the hard hat's for.
yeah, but still,
Yeah.
there's no give. There's no give on those crane hooks.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, they just knock the hard hat off or push you out of the way.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yikes.
I'd say to Kitty Bear, what's the weirdest thing you've had hit you in the hard hat?
Yeah, and really, saying that, like, the weirdest thing that's hit our hard hat is, like, Does that mean somebody's throwing something at you or something falling? You
I
know?
will say I was on a construction site one time, and I was an apprentice at the time, and these guys like to whip out pocket knives and threaten each other all the time, you know. And
What?
I'll cut you, man. I'll cut you, and I'll cut you. So I went to this website and bought a. It was a real knife. It actually was sharp, but it's about a foot and a half long, folded. It was a folding knife. It was a pocket
Yeah.
knife, but it was gigantic. It took two hands to open this thing, and I waited till they started whipping out their knives and say, I cut you. And I pulled out this big old knife and unfolded it and held it with two hands as a pocket knife. And I cut all y'all, you know. And they just about fell over laughing. And they're like, okay, okay, you win.
Yeah. Jeez.
So
I think this might be it here. Let's have a look. How's that? 18-inch
yep,
pocket knife?
it was close to that. It was actually the handle was bigger.
Okay. It folds up
Yeah.
though. This folds up.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Your pocket has to look like a freaking kangaroo.
Yeah. Yeah. I had it in the back pocket and I put my shirt over it, tried to hide it until they started their normal afternoon routine of threatening to cut each other.
Oh man. Yeah, I've seen guys like, what is it? We were dumping wood chips onto a giant filter, and these two guys, they started work at the same time. They knew each other, and they were like, their job was to keep the hopper from getting clogged up. But what do we catch them doing? They're flicking wood chips at each other like children. And it's like, come off it, you guys. Knock it off. But yeah,
I
that's what you
used
got
to work with the journeyman, and so when you go to install in construction a junction box, that they have a little what they call knockout seals. There's little pieces of metal. You pop them out, and it's a little nickel or quarter size little piece, and then you can stick the pipe in the hole, you know, the coupling or the connector. But those KOCs always leave these little pieces of metal. So this journeyman, he wasn't my journeyman. He did it to another apprentice. Throughout the day, he kept throwing those KO seals in his tool bag, the apprentice's tool bag. He wasn't looking. And by the end of the day, it was filled it up. And the apprentice goes to grab his tools, and it's like 10 times heavier. He's
Yeah, there you go. A harmless prank. Those are the good ones.
exactly.
Oh,
There's a lot of harmless pranks on construction sites.
yeah. There you go. Kitty Bear got hit in the head by a plumber, I think, is what he's saying.
Oh,
Yeah. So that was the weirdest thing that hit his hard hat. And everyone's favorite kaiju, Godzillionaire. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
hey,
Tell you it
Godzilla.
isn't Tuesday? It isn't Tuesday, but it's the best time for me to interview Irate Specialist, the electrician. So not a Tuesday, but that's okay. Okay, here's Kitty Bear. It happened working in a flat while he was installing a fuse box, and the plumber used the pipes he had installed to slide down to a lower level, and he hit me in the head going down. Oh, yeah, I remember that now. Jeez.
It's always the plumber's fault.
Oh, yeah, those guys making mess everywhere.
Yeah, about as bad as carpenters.
I don't know. I know electricians make messes too, so
Yeah, the
all
worst
the
are painters.
wire stripping and everything everywhere, and all the ends cut off on the ground, not picked up.
Yeah, yeah, we do that.
Yeah,
And then the painters
painters.
come by and paint over all of our stuff, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, even your outlets and everything like that.
Yeah. So you have to actually rethread all the threads on your outlet covers and stuff just because they have painted over the threads. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, those guys. Yeah, it's fun working on. I didn't work much construction. I worked a little bit, but I've mostly been just maintenance at a facility. But the construction I did work, you just see some funny stuff. Like I think I told everybody on the last stream, there was a window opening, and instead of running the cable around the window, the electricians just ran it like right through. Yeah, yeah. So we went and got the supervisor and said, "Hey, there's something wrong with this picture. What do you think?" He's like, "Oh, those damn electricians." So, yeah, that was funny. Godzillionaire says, the problem with electricians' messes is they are too shocking to remember. Oh, we're back to these jokes again, are we?
Yep.
Okay. Um, the worst thing you made as a mess was breaking a 60 feet of wall. Okay, yeah, that'll make a big mess.
Yes, it will.
That's not an electrical mess though. That's masonry. Get the
He
bricklayers
blamed
out.
it. Blamed the painters. Painters did
I
it.
blame the painters. Yeah.
You're standing there with a sledgehammer. No, I'm not. Toss it in the woods.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're doing all right. I mean, as an electrician, it's uh, it's one thing a lot of people don't like their jobs. If you can say that you don't mind going to your job and you're doing it every day and you're knowledgeable about it. It seems like, and you've got that years of experience. Pretty much you're the one running jobs now. I would think. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's nice, and you have a lot of freedom with it. You what can I say? It's something you won't regret doing, because even if later on you decide you want to do something else, you at least have the knowledge to fix things around your home now. Like in the recent South Park episode, you'll know how to fix a hinge on your door. You'll know.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Um, that's the thing. You can specialize too. You can actually go into other fields too, like electrical. A lot of people do electrical instrumentation. You know,
Hmm.
stuff like that. So even you can even specialize in stuff. You don't have to be like just construction electrician or maintenance electrician. You can go and do other things in that trade. And
Oh, there's
you know,
there's tons of specialties like PLCs, and I mean, you can even go to college and be an electrical engineer, and then have an insight knowledge on what it's like in the field. I'll tell you from my experiences with engineers, a lot of them don't understand that what they design on the blueprint doesn't always equal what happens in the field.
oh,
So
I know
having
that.
that
I know
knowledge
that.
of what it looks like, yeah,
Yeah. Godzillionaire. Electrical troubleshooting equals witchcraft.
you know,
uh,
I'll tell you a story if
yeah.
we got time.
Oh,
Okay.
plenty. Keep going.
All right. I was doing some maintenance, and this guy was having a problem out of his electronic equipment, and I thought he was joking, but he said, I think it's haunted. We should do a seance. And I'm thinking he's joking. I said, sure, you go right ahead and do that. I kid you not. He pulls out some beads, starts clinging the beads and dancing around, singing A Kiss from a Rose by Seal.
Oh
And he's like,
man.
this song scares off demons. So you got to dance around and do it. Like, I would have brung some sage and burn it, but my manager said not to do it anymore. And I just left. Like, it's not, I just, okay, have fun, and walked away. And I asked around, and he was not joking. Everybody knew about the guy. And the manager has asked him not to bring sage to burn anymore. He legit was real.
Wow.
Yeah. Speaking
Ooh.
of witchcraft, he was trying to, yeah, seal off the demons. Yeah.
Jeez. It was soft white concrete plate they glue together and fix to the ceiling and floor. It's for placing walls fast so they aren't load bearing. They'd forgotten to fix it to the ceiling. And when he placed his ladder against it and climbed up, the whole wall fell on him. Jeez. That's when you want video. That's a YouTube short gold right there.
When I was a first year apprentice, I was climbing up on a ladder, and I was on the top rung of the ladder. You're not supposed to do that.
No.
It was the first year, and I fell off. Well, when you fall off, you start grabbing for things, and I grabbed the ceiling grid. Ceiling grid's not load bearing either, at least not for me.
No.
And I
No.
ripped the entire ceiling grid in this office completely down off the wall, the ceiling.
Oh
They
man.
heard a crash, and my journeyman walks in. What are you doing? Nothing. And they just broke up laughing, like nothing. The ceiling is
Nothing.
like, I don't know who did that.
Oh man. Yeah, I've had a ladder kick out from under me. That's not good. I was climbing up the side of a vessel, and I was lucky because I guess there must have been something slippery on the floor, some kind of chemical, and I could feel the ladder start to slide as I was up there. So I just stuck my elbows out and caught myself on the vessel and an I-beam that was this running beside it. So I had to hold myself there while one of the guys ran and grabbed the ladder and put it back up for me.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. Godzillionaire says you're not a real engineer unless you've been cussed out by a tradesman trying to implement your design.
That's true.
Oh yes, Godzillionaire. Oh yes. And to be fair, seal probably would scare off demons.
I swear I've heard that somewhere too. I don't know if it was on like Louder with Crowder or somebody was saying that some people actually, that's like a thing many people believe is a kiss from a rose on the grave scares off demons.
Wow.
Yeah. Of course, every
I've
time I see
never.
the guy, I play the song now, so that'll
Oh,
help.
there you go. No, I've never heard anything like that on the site. I don't. The worst I've ever heard was a guy saying he's a flat earther. He was a welder, so maybe
Yeah,
that's part of it too.
that was the
Welder,
reason.
flat earther. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's breathing in too many exotic fumes, maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. Do you have any plans to get your master electrician? Is that something you would do?
No, I don't. I don't have any need for it. Like I said, I'm 45. I'm not going anywhere. And it's here to get your master electricians. You do have to go to school, a business school, and then they do have a very intense test on it. It is not something I need to do. Um, I'm kind
Okay.
of enjoying what I'm doing now and focusing on trying to create a channel on Rumble. So,
Yeah, yeah. So okay. So apart from being in the trades, as I am, as you are, we all have our hobbies and such. I like to play video games. I talk about anime on the weekends. You know,
yeah.
what do you like to do when you're not at the trades or in doing your electrical stuff? What do you like to do?
I have definitely done my fair share of gaming and watching anime. I watched a ton of anime, but here recently I got hurt and I had to spend several months at home. So I taught myself how to edit videos, and I watched a lot of NHK documentaries and thought it'd be nice to have one about like that around Florida, about people, multi-generational people, their history and history staying alive and covering the history of Florida. And so I started a channel on Rumble doing that and put my editing skills to work. And I don't stream, but I go out in the field and actually videotape people and interview them.
Well, that sounds great. I mean, it's like living history. Like you're collecting the historical, you know, um, past of Florida. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. The recent one, my first one, the recent one is in Umatilla, Florida. It's a very small town and they have a museum there. And I'm interviewing the curator about the history of the town, the small town, the small uh, places that used to employ that went out of business, how the town was created, which was it's fascinating. The town was supposed to be a resort town, like the Orlando of Florida. Of course, Orlando's in Florida, but they're supposed to be like as big as Orlando. And things change, and it never got that big. But they had a huge orange grove industry. That was the predominant employer of the town, and big freeze came by, wiped everything out. No more orange groves.
Oh,
So, I mean, they've. I'm covering the history dating back to the 1800s in this small little town.
that's excellent.
So,
No, we
yeah,
need more people doing that stuff.
yeah, because I'd like to interview people too, and because people pass away, their stories get lost.
Yep.
So, interesting thing that I'm going to put on the channel soon is all around Florida in these older areas, you'll see these seashells. Well, not seashells, but they're shells, like various shells on roadways and different places like that. Well, those shells were once basically a sacred shell mound for the Native Americans. And when the industrialists came through, they say, hey, that stuff is hard as concrete. We can break it up, grind it up, and put it in the ground and use it to build foundation for roads and homes. What they didn't know is those shells were very sacred to them and also sometimes contained human remains.
Oh,
So there are literal homes built on Indian burial grounds, just like in the sci-fi movies in Florida, and a lot of roads like that too.
oof.
Yeah.
Yikes. That's not good.
Nope.
But as Godzillionaire notes, the Earth is clearly flat and birds aren't real.
That's right. They're government-controlled robots, and they charge on the power lines.
And why would you need business school to be a master electrician unless it's a scam?
No, they do that because a lot of people who become master electricians end up starting their own business. So they want to make sure that people are qualified to have their own business. It's different if you want to do, like, you go to someone's house and install a light switch or something, but a lot of these guys become contractors for other companies. And that could cause havoc in the field if you don't have the people that you're hiring to contract for your business know what they're doing. And there is a lot of legalities to it. I know someone who's a plumbing contractor, and if the contractor they work under doesn't pay them, he can pursue that contractor and basically prevent him from making any money or doing any other jobs until he pays him first.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, there's a lot to it. So they do. I understand the business side of it. I understand why they have those requirements for a master electrician.
Kitty Bear says, dumbest housing design you ever had to work with was one where the outlets were behind heat radiator in the house. They were completely useless. Yeah.
I've seen that. I have seen panels um, inside a hidden wall to where you have to walk up to this wood wall, and it looks like a regular wood wall. And if you smack on it, it pops open, and there's your electrical panel. Unless you knew it was there, you'd never be able to find it.
Oh, man.
I don't know if you know what a shunt trip is, but a shunt
No.
trip they're on the outside of most buildings. I'm sure they're up there too. Use just a little red button with a glass on it. If you break the glass, it turns the power off. It's for the fire department in case there's an electrical fire. They can break that glass and shuts all the electrical off for the building. The shunt trip was inside the building. They're supposed to be outside the building. It was inside the building in a woman's office behind her door. And the glass had broken by accident. So I get a call, there's no power to the building, and you're walking around trying to figure out why. The electrical room for this building, it's a commercial building, was in the janitor's closet. You had to go inside this little tiny half door for the janitor closet, and then you find the electrical room. And the shunt trip was inside a woman's office.
Oh, talk about a wild goose chase.
Yeah, we would have never found the shunt trip if someone didn't call up and say, yeah, it's here. It's supposed to be on the outside of the building for the fire department.
That's amazing. Somebody knew to call you guys and tell you where it was.
That's where someone who worked for a company for, several decades would know.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And that's what's happening now. All of us, all the journeymen that we learned under, they are retiring and, leaving the trade, as it were. And there's going to be big gaps. There's shortage of tradesmen, like of all
Absolutely.
trades.
Absolutely. I personally think the events of 2020, 2019 helped spur that along. A lot of people just said, you know what, I'm just going to retire and stay home. And that's one of the reasons some people retired early from what I saw. And that just leaves that huge gap of knowledge.
Yeah, the shortage, and like it or not, the people that are white collar jobs and managers and everything like that, and CEOs, you guys need the trades people out there. You need them, and you need to have the foresight to have yourself a few apprentices learning under the people that are journeymen now, because in a few years they're not going to be there, and you guys are going to be hurting. So let that be a call out to all you managers, CEOs, whatever. You gotta prepare, otherwise you're going to be caught short and you're going to be the fool for it.
Well, I don't know if you saw the recent South Park episode. They kind of covered that, you know, all the,
Actually, sorry, I'm not a big. I know of South Park and I've seen a few episodes, but I'm not like a devoted follower. But it sounds like I should watch this one episode.
yeah, they covered the whole Disney Kathleen Kennedy thing as one story. And the other story was about all the doctors, lawyers, psychiatrists in town needing to get things fixed around the home, but no one knew how to do anything. And all the uh, tradesmen were in need. They became billionaire and millionaires because they're the only ones that knew how to fix anything. So, yeah,
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and I've been doing trades talk for at least over a year now, and it's like that's one of the things I harp on a lot is you know the young people need to be introduced to the trades, and they need to be not looked down upon as like a second class kind of trade, a second class job. It's fairly important. You're not just some knuckle dragging mouth breather, when you're working in the trades.
that's what people think. That's what people think of people who work with their hands, that they're a bunch of mouth breathing knucklehead idiots, you
Yeah.
know. But one thing I'll say my dad always told me is if you learn a trade and you have a set of tools, you can work anywhere. Doesn't matter where in the world you are, you can find work.
That's
If you
so
don't have
true.
those, if you don't have those skills, what do you have? I mean, if suddenly people didn't need electricians, which would be hard to imagine, but if they didn't, I could get a job as anything working tools. Just take a little bit to do it because I have at least some skill with working with tools. It's not something you can pick up a screwdriver and understand righty tighty lefty loosey and do anything you want. You know,
Hmm.
you have to have some experience in the field. And yeah, they ran out of if they don't need any psychiatrists, what's the psychiatrist going to do the rest of his life?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You
Oh, I
know,
need more mental people to talk to or stuff like that. And well, maybe there isn't that many out there anymore, you know? Um, but yeah, I always say that you learn a trade, you carry that with you for the rest of your life, and nobody can ever take it away from you.
yeah, and you won't just learn one trade. A lot of times you will get some experience in other trade. Even with the electrical trade, what did we cover one semester? HVAC work, just the basics of it. So in case you need to know it, there it is. You know,
Yeah.
compressor, condenser, you know, basic parts of it. So hey, there's no electricians needed. I take me a little bit, but I could pick up on doing HVAC. Plumbing is just need to know the name of the parts. Honestly, water runs downhill.
Yeah. No,
you
and
know,
we even learned about PLCs in millwright school, how to read simple ladder logic and all that. And it's like, okay, well, that's good. We touched on that. We did welding. you do 2 weeks of welding just
Yeah.
to make sure that you have a basic understanding of oxyacetylene cutting and arc welding, how to do that. So, and also
Yeah.
I've learned stuff over the years talking with electricians, which is why I can chat with you about electrical stuff, because I know a bit of it, you know.
Yeah, we didn't do any welding in my apprenticeship, but we did fire alarms. We touched on fire alarm equipment. I
Okay.
mean, which there's money to be made in that stuff. It
Yeah,
actually pays a
that's
little more than electrical.
yeah, it's like a specialty, as it were. Like you can specialize at being a fire alarm or fire technician or whatever it happens to be called.
Yes, and you have to have a special license here at least to even do any kind of maintenance to it. You have to have a special license for fire alarm equipment, and it pays
Okay.
more. And it's not nearly as dirty of a job. So you work inside most of the time in air conditioned buildings, double checking and maintaining their equipment.
Yeah, yeah, like
So
it's industrial buildings too. They a lot of places will have like a dry system, uh,
yeah,
but sometimes it gets old and things happen, and you get leaks, and then all of a sudden it's activated, and now you got to call the guys out, and they've got to check over your system, and yeah, it can be big bucks too. Yeah, they're earning good coin, those guys.
well, fire alarms now, a lot of it is so electronic orientated. The alarm systems.
Yeah. Well, we used to have where I was at before, the humidity was so high in the building because it's where they broke down the garbage into compost, so it has high humidity. But the fire alarms would go off um, due to the humidity. So we'd have to be mustering outside, and they'd have to make sure that there was no fire in there. But we ended up having to put in like pull stations that they would use at swimming pools,
Yeah,
stuff like that. That's a little more resistant to the high humidity.
everything in
And
Florida is high humidity.
oh yeah, right by the ocean. Yeah, yeah. I'm not by
Even
the ocean.
inland in central Florida, it's a swamp. The state of Florida is a swamp, and you get 80 to 90% humidity in the winter in the summertime. It's just a swamp.
Oh yeah, I get. I mean, what's the worst we get in here in the prairies is about 50% humidity, but sometimes it hovers around 30. So not very humid.
So occasionally it gets down to the freezing temperatures in Florida, and I've heard from people from Canada that tells me it's colder in Florida when it's around freezing than it is up in Canada when it's below freezing
Yep.
because of the humidity just soaks into your jackets and your
Yep.
clothes.
Yep. 100%. Yeah, you
Yep.
betcha. Because a wet cold is way different than a dry cold.
Yep. 76% humidity and it's freezing outside. Yeah.
Oh, oof. Yeah. No, thank you.
Raincoats work. You'll sweat in
Raincoats.
a
There you go.
raincoat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it traps out, it isolates the moisture, and then your body just starts to heat itself up inside of it.
Okay.
So,
There's a good tip for you, everybody,
yeah.
with that high humidity.
Just don't lean on
Uh,
something cold because,
you freeze to it.
yeah.
Talk about skill. The people who dug the holes for laying glass fiber couldn't even understand a photograph with an X marking the spot where the fiber needed to go. Sounds like a skill issue to me. And they laid your fiber to the toilet instead. Now you have to wait 2 weeks before they move it so you can come inside to your living room. They laid it 10 feet. Oh, man. Oh, that's
Well,
just terrible.
when they said having fiber in your diet helped, I don't think they meant that.
Yeah, you didn't want it. You didn't want it there anyway.
Yeah. Not that kind of fiber.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's
We
good.
had
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I had a day laborer working underneath me one time. They were supposed to hang some picture frames, and the lady put an X along the wall, but she didn't do like the job. She just took a sticky note, wrote an X, and put it where she wanted the picture frame. Well, this guy puts it directly on top of the X. And you walk into the office and they're all like, they're not lined up and level. They're all over the place. And he's like, well, that's where she put the X. Like, she's not going to break out the tape measure and make sure each one X is directly off the wall and make sure they're level with a level. She just puts it in the rough area. He did not understand the basic concept of he had to put a level and a tape measure. He just, the X was there.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you get what you pay for, I guess. But, like, yeah, have a level, make sure everything looks good, not like haphazard all over the place.
Yeah, and that's the way it looked. She was not happy. I
Oh,
didn't
I
send him
bet.
out anymore on those jobs.
Oh, man. So, would you have any advice for anybody that's looking to get into the electrical trade, or any trade at all, but specifically the electrical trade? Any advice for any up and coming young tradesmen that want to get into that?
I guess know yourself, know what you're interested in, and pick your trade accordingly. Like I said, the apprenticeships for the electricians for some reason is a lot more math intensive. So it would help if you aren't good with math. Be a mechanic, HVAC, do something else. And also, if you have a passion for something, absolutely pursue that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
good advice. Yeah. And there is over 140 trades out there. So there has got to be something, that someone can find that they would want to do, you
yeah, and
know.
even if you see, because electricians, like I see some dirty guy digging a ditch, or that's what you're doing through the apprenticeship is being some dirty guy digging a ditch. Put up with it for a few years because you can go beyond that. You can run your own jobs. You can hire your own people. You can do data later on. You can do fire alarms. There's a ton of different things that you can do where you'll never dig a ditch again.
Yep, that's right. And you you will be the guy on the low guy on the totem pole. You'll have to do apprentice jobs that nobody wants to do, that the journeyman's not going to do. Hey, strip all this wire, or hey, you're going to pull all this wire yourself today, or something like that. They're going to make you do the jobs that they don't want to do. But like you
But they
say,
have
like,
done it.
yep, they've done it and you're going to do it next. And everybody should listen to what Irate is saying here, because you just put up with it and just grit your teeth and work your way through it. It's not a forever thing. You'll be the journeyman one day, and then you'll
Yep.
get your apprentice to do the dirty jobs.
And there's a lot to be learned from doing the grunt work. The journeyman's done enough of it. He's done 20 years of grunt work or whatever. He's having you do it for a reason.
Yes, and it's to show you how it's done, or how they do things, and it's to make you appreciate when you don't have to do that anymore.
And I'd
Um,
like to add that it's something women can do. I have talked to a lot of women who absolutely have no interest in doing trades, but it is something they can do. I understand that they don't want to, but it's not. I've had women say, "No, I can't do that. I'm a woman," and that's not true. I've worked with plenty of women that are very capable. The guys will expect you to do the same work they're doing. They'll have you do the grunt work, but it's not because you're a woman. It's because that's what they did. That's what they make all grunts do.
yes, they're not picking on them. It doesn't matter. And I've seen that too. I've worked with my fair share of women as well. And they have to, one of them didn't have the right reason for being in the trades. She's just looking at the money, and that's all she wanted. And it's like, well, no, you can't just look at that, because what kind of a tradesman are you going to be if you're just looking at the money? But another one, like I say, one of my apprentices, awesome. She was always wanting to learn, and she picked up on things really quickly, and just, she didn't want to be treated any differently. She's like, nope, you tell me what to do and I'm do it. I'm like, okay, there we go.
I I had a woman apprentice complain that I was giving her all the hard jobs because she was a woman. I'm like, no, I'm literally treating you like I have everybody else. I've
Yep.
asked you to do nothing more than I haven't done, that other people have done. This is part of the job.
Yep. And she's got to understand that, like, this is, you're not getting treated any differently than anybody else.
No.
You have to do this job. I didn't care who you were. You could be a guy. I would have asked them to do the same thing.
Yep. I only care that you do the work and can do the work. That's all anybody cares about. I'm
Yep.
not going to say you might not run into one or two guys that are different, but for the most part, for most everyone I've seen, they just want people to work hard and do their best, and that's all they care about. If you work hard and try.
Yeah. So when I ran a crew of myself when I worked at the composting facility, and I had a little joke, if there was new guys coming onto the crew, I'd be like, just do what I say and we'll get along fine. Right? That was just my
Yeah.
joke. I'd laugh after that, and it's kind of the laid back, try to break the ice a bit with them and make them feel more comfortable. Um, and like I say, I never asked them to do anything I wouldn't do myself. That was the big thing with me.
Yeah. I worked with a guy, he used to tell all the apprentices, he was joking, but he would tell all the apprentices, no matter who they were, it's very simple. We'll get along great. All you've got to do is do what I say when I say it, drive the truck, carry the tools, do all the work, and clean up after everything, and we'll be fine. Like,
Yeah. Good sense of humor for that fella.
yeah,
Uh, Kitty Bear liked the dirty jobs. He liked working alone, and the dirty jobs usually have you work alone. Yes, that's true. No,
yeah,
nobody wants to be in the dirty job. But if you pick that, then you're going to be sticking around when layoffs come. The
yes.
school you went for learning to become an electrician also had metalworking, and the 500 students there were two female metalworkers. Yeah, I mean, it's not that they can't, it's just they don't want to. A lot of women just don't want to get into the trades,
I,
They just don't want to.
I think it's a cultural thing. They just, guys grow up with certain expectations where, women grow up having certain expectations from them when they were a child. You know, it's, I know a lady, she's perfectly capable of doing electrical work, absolutely would never do it. It's just, she'll be a waitress before she'll be an electrician. You know, it's
Mm.
just, that's her mindset. It's like a culture. It's like part of the way she grew up as a child. She thought women had to do these roles and men had to do these.
Oh, yes.
So
Oh, another success story. Actually, I had a friend, and she was working at a bookstore uh, for quite a few years, and I paid her a visit. I flew to the next province over, and I'm like, hey, you should come to here because we were having a boom at the time. There was lots of jobs available, and I said, you can make the jump from retail to industrial. You just drop your resume off at this place, and she did, and she got hired, and she eventually now she works as a heavy duty mechanic. So
yeah.
there's it's one of my proudest success stories. Is like my friend went from retail to industrial and is doing exactly what she wanted to do. She always wanted to work on uh, big trucks and stuff like that, and now she does.
Well, where I work at, there's a woman. She's 50 years in the trade as a carpenter. And let me tell you, it was a whole lot different 50 years ago than it is today,
Yeah,
especially for
yeah,
women. I mean, and today it's a lot easier.
yeah. It is. It really is. What else? Kitty Bear saying here, those girls who's darn strong with arm wrestling, even though they look more like models than metal workers. Yeah, the girls, eh? Well, it's good, and like I say, it doesn't matter, man, woman. The shortage of tradespeople is real, and we're going to need as many people as possible to fill in those spots because it's coming. It's going to be a rude awakening. Like I was being even when I was going to my pre-apprenticeship program in early '90s. My instructor was telling us this. He's like, "Oh, the older generation are going to retire, and you guys are going to have your pick of what jobs to go and where to work." And we're like, "Ooh, that sounds awesome!" And yes, it has come to pass.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a well, ever since the 90s, I would say kids were told in school, you've got to go to college for everything. You have to go to college. You can't be something if you don't go to college. So people were skipping trades. Now there's
Yep.
a lack of trades jobs. Those skilled jobs are going to start paying very well. In fact, welding, I would say if you get into the right kind of welding, you can make more than a doctor does.
Oh, there's no doubt. And and then there's overtime too. If you get a place that
Hmm.
pays double time, or you get really good, like you can specialize in welding as well. You can do like pressure vessels and such like that if you get your B ticket,
Yeah.
and if you can do
Would you
TIG
work
and
on
all
an
that.
oil rig?
Oh yeah, yeah, that too. Working for the oil companies,
Yeah.
um, they pay well. They want they don't want any incidents or accidents or anything like that. So they're gonna have top notch safety, and they're gonna want you guys to be ticketed and all that. So yeah,
Yeah. Especially if you have to go out to like the ocean and work on one of those oil rigs, they know how difficult that is for people. They pay very well.
yes, yep.
I mean,
Just like here,
6 figures and up. I mean, it's incredible.
easily,
Yeah.
hey. Oh yeah, even here, yeah. Going if you go up north from where I live to the oil sands, yeah, they pay well because they know they're out in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
and they people live in camps and they can make good money if they're smart with it. Because there's if you stick around in camp and you don't go into town to blow your money, you can definitely do very well for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, they know because you're going to leave your family and friends behind to go live up there for several months. And those several
Yeah,
months will pay your whole year. So, like you
yep,
said, if you spend wisely, you go up there for a few months, you'll have your whole year's income right there.
yep. And I've heard of guys that done that. Not a lot, but a few. They're just like they go up there, they work for however many months, and they come back, and they spend the rest of the time off.
Yeah.
So good on them for being able to do that.
Yeah.
Ski we were saying here, irate bending pipes. Did they teach it using your thumbs? You couldn't do that. You had to do it using your palm of your hand instead. Dislocate your thumbs. Bending
No,
pipe
I don't
using your thumb.
know. We had pipe benders. Um,
Yeah.
and then they had on the pipe benders, you had the little star and you had the little line. They taught us the take up amount on it, which is, I forgot because it's kind of printed on the side of the every pipe bender. Um,
Well,
how
that's
much the
expected.
take up is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And on some pipe benders, like uh, half-inch pipe, you can just, let's say you have to measure out 2 feet and do a bend. If you turn it upside down and line that 2 foot along to the star, then you don't need to do a take up. You can just bend it off of that. It's automatically does the take up for you. So
All right. Yeah. To me,
that
all that bending conduit and stuff like that and pipe, that's a fine art right there.
I used to work with a guy in construction. He could do it by eye.
Oh,
They paid him more than anybody else. They paid him more than the guy running the job site because he could walk into a place and look at the ceiling and just start bending all the pipe that was needed for the job and then just start popping them in. He never had to do it. Pull out a tape measure.
no, that's like I say, that's a fine art. You've got really mastery of that skill right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I see Kitty Bear asked about metal pipe. We have PVC pipe. We have EMT, which is like a thin metal, and then we have rigid conduit, which it's much thicker. You have to thread. Um, I worked a little bit with the rigid, but most of it was EMT. But in maintenance, we don't work with hardly any of that. We just maintain existing stuff. They don't want us to install anything new because you have to have a license to do it. And they hire outside contractors for that.
Oh,
I think a lot of
yes.
it's insurance liability and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, I actually worked at an electrical supply house for a little bit, and I did get taught how to bend EMT and to do how to do sweep radiuses for the local power company would come and uh, need some of those. So they would like 4-inch rigid pipe, and they'd want a sweep
Ooh.
3-foot sweep radius. And so I got taught how to do that in a couple of, you do it in, like 5 15-degree bends or 6 15-degree bends, to get it where you need to the sweep to be. And that was awesome. I love learning that stuff because it was just something new to add to my repertoire, as it were.
Yeah.
And I guess the thing is too, and I hope you can attest to this, but when you have a chance to learn something new, or if your employer is like, hey, we need somebody to learn this machine or something like that, like you got to snap that up right away, and then that way you become more valuable to the company if you can get those extra skills to pull out.
Especially if it's something you want to do, if it's something you like doing, like, man, I want to work on this because then I know if I learn it faster, I'm the only one that's going to work on it. And sometimes, like Kitty Bear says, the dirty jobs, nobody else wants to do it. Makes you a lot more valuable if you're doing the work nobody else wants to do.
Yeah, so true. And any training that comes up, any training that the employer is willing to pay for, take it. Forklift, skid steer, loader, front end loader. Like I have all that stuff. Like if you can do that, you're going to be way more of an asset, and they're not going to try to get rid of you or anything like that, because it's like, oh well, this guy knows all these things. He's valuable. He's got the skills. Kitty Bear says he was taught with PVC, rub it with your hand, then bend it over your thumbs. However, as a kid, you dislocated your thumbs, so the pressure needed to bend PVC was enough to dislocate them again. Freaked your teachers out. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, we used heaters.
Yeah. When we had to do that at the electrical supply house, we would first make a jig with the wood.
Yes.
Whatever it had to be, whether it was an offset or a kick or whatever it had to be. And then we'd put 2 rubber plugs in each end of the pipe, and then put it in a heater and have it heat up, and then just lift it out and set it in there, and then wash it down with some water to cool it down. And that usually did it. Is that how you guys did it?
We didn't use rubber plugs, but it's Florida, so it's, it's
okay.
In the high 90s, it doesn't take long to heat up a pipe.
Okay.
Yeah. But the few times I was in construction when it was cold in the wintertime, yeah, it took a long time to heat up. But in the summertime, yeah, they heat up within a few seconds.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I didn't think it was that cold, but we would do this inside the shop. So it was just the fact, I guess it was just, the size of the pipe, and you put the plugs in so it doesn't collapse on you, right? It keeps the air pressure in there so it doesn't collapse the pipe.
Well, this is commercial, so it's like the most you'd have to deal with is maybe 1 inch. It sounds like when what you've been dealing with is a lot larger than.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. 1 inch. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that's all right. I'm glad I did my time there at the electrical supply house. We'd make up, or the owner there, he was a certified electrician, so he'd make up switchgear and stuff for customers, which were like electrical contractors and all that kind of stuff, and rent out stuff to them.
Okay. So
it was pretty good.
The pit bull Beagle decided he wanted in my lap again. Sorry.
Oh, the old dogs, eh?
Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, I mean, do you guys have most of your tools at the plant there? What you need as far as electrical goes? Do you have to rent stuff sometimes?
We mostly have our own. Occasionally, we may have to rent like generators or something, but most of the tools we have is our own. Even with the line trucks and everything, the company supplies all that. Of course, they buy it all. They don't rent it.
Okay.
Yeah. And all
Oh,
the
so
hand tools we buy.
okay, so
So
they're your own personal ones then?
that's right. Yeah. All the hand
Nice.
tools are our own personal tools.
Nice. So no lending those out.
No. They stay locked up.
Now, do you prefer? Do you have like a tool bag that you carry around with you? Do you have like a waist belt, anything like that?
I used to do a waist belt, but it kind of made my back hurt. So I just
Oh yeah.
started. I bought uh, it's not made by DeWalt. It has their name on it. It's another company makes it, and other companies make similar ones. But it's basically you put all your tools into a chest and you wheel it around.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
handy.
So everything's right there. You can keep a couple tools you need to do the job in your pocket or whatever, and then you just wheel all your tools around with you. You know, and doing
No,
service truck work, it mostly stays in the truck anyways.
yeah, unless you need it, and then yeah. Oh no, that's good.
Yeah.
Service truck work, and that's the one you said you need the CDL for, or no?
Yeah. I don't always drive the CDL truck, but I do need the CDL in case I have to drive the CDL truck.
Okay. So there you go. You could potentially be a truck driver too,
Yeah,
if you weren't you know drive a body job or something like that.
exactly. All that just adds to the resume if something ever happens.
Yeah.
You know.
So you heard it here, kids. Get all the training you can. If you can get something and the company's going to pay for it, you go and get that because you don't want to be the one that's out of a job just because you're not. Get all the skills you can is what I'm trying to say.
There's an ebb and flow to the trades jobs. Certain things are in high demand at certain times, and then other times other things are in high demand. It kind of is based on the economy.
Yes.
You could be huge demand for building homes. Suddenly that dries up, that market dries up. Now all of a sudden everyone's building hospitals for some unknown reason. So now you're doing electrical work in the hospital. I mean, you never know. It's good to have everything under your belt. So when that part, even if you love doing housing work, that's your passion, you still want to put food on the table. So when that dries up, you go on to this other thing.
That's right. Good point. Kitty Bear says, were we taught to eyeball stuff on practical tests and looks was what we were judged on as well? If the stuff worked, reason was for if you had to place stuff that wasn't hidden in walls.
And eyeballing is important. I mean, you can, even like with running pipe, you can level everything perfectly. But if everything's out of level, yours looks crooked.
Yes.
So eyeballing is an important thing. It's not always, you can make the most perfectly level, straight up and down piece of pipe you've ever seen, but all the pipes around it are leaning 30 degrees to the left. Now yours looks crooked.
Yes. And what do the supervisors do? They don't look at the old stuff. They look at yours and go, why does yours look like that?
Yep.
Yeah. So sometimes you just got to make it look pretty. And then once they leave, then make it the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. So, or just leave it like that. Hey, it looks good. It works.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
you know.
Yep. Just tell them, look, this stuff's 50 years old. It's going to be sinking and it's sinking. Mine's not. So be happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you'll
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, I got to say, this has been a awesome chat there, Irate. I loved hearing about the your journey through the trades, how you came about to it. Uh, it's uh, it's something I think for everyone. I always say this on the stream. No matter what, I sound like a broken record, but it's important that the young people get exposed to the trades and they fill in for us because well, we are going to be retiring, down the line, so they better get out there and
Absolutely.
learn. Yep.
And even if it's not something you want to stick with and you want to move on, it's something, some knowledge you'll retain the rest of your life. You need to do some work on your car. If you need to do something around the house that needs to be done, you have the knowledge and ability to do it. You don't have to rely on someone else to do everything for you.
That's the thing. Be self-sufficient.
Yep.
Good. A good story was I had to change the float valve in our toilet there the other got a week back or so, and I have all my tools here. I'm not a plumber, but I know how to follow directions and shut the water off and everything like that. And within half an hour, it was changed and working beautifully. So,
Yeah. You didn't have to call up a guy, wait 2 days for him to come out to change a float valve that costs $1.99 at Home Depot. And then, he has to order the part 2 weeks later. You still don't have a toilet in your home. You just 30 minutes of work, you're done.
yep, exactly. And that's the thing. You're in the trades, but you can spread it around to all the different ones, and as long as you can follow directions, you'll be fine.
Yep. You don't want to go buy something from IKEA and then have to pay someone to come out to install it for you when all you need is a
Ooh,
screwdriver. Yeah.
yeah, I would be very embarrassed if I couldn't put something together from IKEA. I would actually hang my head in shame if I could not do that. But
I've seen it. I
oh,
helped a friend out. He didn't know how to use a screwdriver or a hammer to put something together from IKEA.
oh no, say it ain't.
Yeah.
Come on, tell me you're joking.
Nope. Grown man. I'm not
Oh,
joking. Yeah.
oh, that hurts my heart. It really does. you know, it's like
Yeah.
it's the most basic of hand tools, and yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. That's why you got to get out there and learn something, learn how to do this stuff for yourself. It'll come in handy. Nothing
Yes.
more rewarding than being the one to put together your child's crib, you know, or put together their Christmas present. So
Yep.
when they wake up in the next morning, their dollhouse is put together for them.
Yep. Or fix their toy. Dad, I broke my
Yeah.
toy. Oh,
You'll
here, I'll
you'll be
fix it
their
for you.
hero. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's way more beneficial than the drawbacks are. Like 100%. I'd argue anybody that the benefits outweigh the drawbacks for learning the trades.
Absolutely.
Oh, Kitty Bear worked for IKEA. You, you're the one. Yeah. Well,
He was
Irate,
inspector number 29. I've seen it.
probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. What do you have coming up, anyways, for as far as projects go? I know you talked about the history of the Florida there. What else? You got anything else, or would you like to just explain a little more in depth on that one?
Well, I do put a few memes out on Rumble under Irate Specialist. And it's definitely not safe for kids. And some adults, it's quite disturbing. Um, but if you know who Culture Casino is, you'll get it. But yeah, I put a few memes out there. But yeah, my passion really is the bygone Florida. It's where I go out and interview. Right now, it's just an interview with a curator of a museum. But eventually, I want to interview people who are historians and amateur historians, as well as interview everyday people, farmers and stuff like that, people who've been doing this farming in their fields for multiple generations, running their family business for multiple generations. Just the trade or the culture and the people of Florida, as well as the history. When
Nice.
people say Florida, they think Florida man. There's a lot more to Florida than just the Florida man. You know. Yes, exactly, exactly. You know, Florida man.
Yeah, it's just yeah. I mean, you're right. It's Florida man,
Yeah,
and you're just like, okay,
exactly.
this guy.
Yeah, yeah. And see,
Uh,
like, there's a local newspaper up in that same small town in Umatilla. It's been going for at least generations, and they're a very small newspaper. They just cover a small part of the county up there. It's North Lake County, and that's literally it's the North Lake Outpost. They just covered that section of the county, and it's been going on for 2 generations now. And I'd love to be able to interview these people and have them talk about running a small newspaper. It may not sound like the most interesting thing, but these are people who have a passion for doing something, and it's continued through 2 generations now.
they're bringing the news to that area. Like that's
Yeah,
important. They're so I'd like to, if you could talk to like, the person that started it or whatever, and have like their first edition and what they decided what they wanted to do. That's excellent.
from my research, it was the her father, the current owner's father, and he's passed away, and then she took it over.
Okay. But yeah, something to look forward to, everybody. If you want to follow Irate Specialist on Rumble, he's doing that. That is an excellent endeavor. You're cataloging the history. I can't think of a better thing. I'm an amateur historian myself. I just love the 20th century history. Um, it helps us understand why things are the way they are now.
Yeah, I mean, in this small town, it started. I told you earlier, it started as a resort town, and everything went south to Orlando, and all the farming went south to South Florida. Everything went south, and it's during the 1920s when they wanted this thing to be a huge resort town. Some industrialists came on and bought the whole area. Then the market crashed in the 20s, and everything
Yeah.
shut down. So the guy donated his huge resort hotel he had built to I can't remember the name of the organization now. Check it out. It's episode 3.
There you
But he
go.
donated, yeah, he donated the entire facility to this nonprofit organization, and they turned it into what they called, and I quote, a crippled children's home. And it was a free hospital for children with disabilities to go to get the care they needed, including children who were in the iron lung because uh, polio, I believe.
Polio. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Polio was big back then. So they had the iron lung for children. They had a bunch of things. It was all free, paid for by the nonprofit.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm glad they did
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. So out of the tragedy of the 1920 collapse and this whole town, basically the history going, I mean, the future being dissolved, they turned it into a children's home.
That's awesome. Yeah,
So
and that's going to be in
yeah,
you're going to have that in your
that's
report.
already out.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, that's
So
that's good. So you guys should check out Irate Specialist on his channel there.
yeah, it's Bygone Florida is the Rumble and YouTube, but it's all on Rumble.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know sometimes we have a little trouble with YouTube. I've had my fair share of slaps on the hand for stuff, and it's like, what? Why?
Uh, who was it that recently got knocked out too? There's somebody recently got kicked out. They said it was graphic nudity, and he's never had nudity. He has a Sunday church service on his channel.
Oh, oh, I saw that. I forget who it was, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, and it
Yeah.
turned out he said it was a GIF of someone eating banana, and they called that graphic nudity and deleted the
Oh,
entire channel. Not just
yeah.
demonetized them, completely deleted
Just
everything on there.
wiped him out. Yeah. No, I saw
Yep,
that, and it's like, oh,
that's covering the history of a state south of the Mason-Dixon line. I mean, I know eventually YouTube will have problems with something I say or do, so I put shorts of it on YouTube, and hopes people will see it and go over to Rumble. But everything's on Rumble.
Yeah, that seems to be the like I say, I'm on there too, and I'm hoping it picks up soon. So
Yeah,
well,
yeah. There's
let's just see what Cutie Bear has to say here. He working for IKEA was his best paid job. He was paid for being a driver, translator, and a showroom builder. He did everything there.
yeah.
2 hours for a bed, 2 closets, 2 desks, had a few little drawers and a cupboard, then drive to the next showroom and do it again. And his final warning, do not buy IKEA stuff. It's cheap garbage that breaks easy.
Yeah, yeah. Although I have a bed frame from IKEA that's over 10 years old and it still holds up.
From
So
what I've seen, if you can buy the stuff that's made in Sweden, you'll be fine. But you got to be careful and watch for the stuff that IKEA brings from China because it's garbage. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I know it's like has a Swedish name and everything like that. But if you look closely at it, it'll say made in China.
I'll look carefully. I don't go to IKEA that much, but next
No,
time
we
I go,
neither
I'll
do
be
we.
looking. Yeah. And that's how it is for a lot of Chinese stuff. I used to buy boots from Doc Martin.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard of them. Yeah.
That's
And
supposed to be
when they
English.
were, yes, and when they were made in England, they were the best boots I ever had. Now it's all made in China, and it doesn't hold up very well.
And they are
Same,
not.
yeah. Red Wing. Red Wing's a huge boot manufacturer here in the States, and
Yep.
everything you can, they're great boots, but they're starting to make stuff in China, and they're not lasting as long. And even some of the stuff they say is made in America just doesn't seem to be lasting as long as they used to. My work boots
Huh.
are all Red Wing, and the first pair of boots I had lasted 7-8 years, and now these recent ones like 3, all made in America.
Man.
Yeah.
And I know Red Wing's supposed to stand behind their workmanship and all that because we have them here too. We have Red Wings and guys swear up and down by them. Oh yeah, $400 pair of boots and oh these are the greatest. And you take them in and they resole them for you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, which is true. They will, but I keep mine well oiled, and even mine looks brand new, but they're starting to crack like they're not oiled. It's the second time I've had this problem. So $400 is a lot to spend on a pair of boots.
It is. Really is.
Yeah.
Kitty Bear says he made his own bed. It's still standing 25 years later. That's a
There
long
you
time.
go. Yeah. Oh, old traditional wood stuff. Man, that stuff would last generations.
Yep. 100%. You betcha.
Yep. And
No,
speaking of that, actually, there's not a lot of old buildings still standing in Florida. Like I said, some of the places date back to the 1800s. One of the reasons I learned doing this channel is because they used to make it out of what they called first generation pine, which was an old type of pine that would, it lived 200 years, 150, 200-year-old pine trees. They're good, solid wood. But pine trees are flammable. Their sap is basically turpentine.
Oh.
So, yeah, all these buildings made out of first gen pine just went up quickly. They all burned down. Yeah.
Oof. That's brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of buildings lost because of that. So then they started making things out of stone. So if you
yeah.
Yep.
That doesn't burn.
No, it doesn't. And all the old Florida stuff is made out of stone now, you'll see. But yeah, that first gen pine is very hard to find.
Yeah. Jeez. They learned that one the hard way.
Yeah, well, I mean, they didn't have much option back then. In the 1800s, there was no railroad tracks. Everything came through on buggies, and Florida is nothing but sand, just what we call sugar sand. It's just soft, dry, white sand. So it's horrible to travel on.
Yeah,
and
it
all
sounds
the
like it.
woods and everything. Yeah, they had what we call scrub brush. If you ever watched the movie Yearling, that's very close resemblance to what the what old Florida used to look like, and it was just all these old, scrub brushes, which are thick, dense, and hard to chop up. They'll cut you going through them. That's what was Florida: sand and bushes that'll cut you. It was hard.
Wow, it just did not want people around.
No, no, and yet they built the largest theme park right in the middle of it.
Yeah. Way to go, Disney.
Yeah.
But yes, I had just a real pleasure to chat with you this evening. I hope you've had a good time as well. And I hope all
I
you
did.
chatters had a good time. I'm hoping to get do more of these. I really do like doing my trades interviews. I like hearing everyone's story, what their road was like to get to where they are, and um, all the all the crazy things they've seen and done, and all that. The stories are great. It's really great.
Thank you. I've
But
had a lot of fun.
oh, I'm glad. I'm glad. We can always do this again as well. Um,
Yep.
it's not just a one-time thing. I hope more
No.
people coming along. But yes, just I guess we'll just wrap her up here. We've been going for quite a
Yeah.
while, so
Yeah. And thank you to Kitty Bear for showing up and staying with us. I've seen him a few times in chats and over in Fat Steven's chat.
oh yeah, Kitty Bear gets into everywhere. I've seen him in a lot of. Well, he comes to. Sometimes he'll come to my gaming stream. He'll be on like Blaine's Escape Corner and all that kind of stuff, and you'll see him all over the place.
Yeah.
Like he says, his road was fun but very short.
Hey, as long as it's fun.
That's right. And yeah, I'd like to thank a lot of the other people that showed up in the chat today, like Angry Canadian and Tripping Orc. There was Alex Moore, and of course our Kitty Bear and Serranos and DJ Ronnie G and Punk Waddle. It's always good to see that. And don't forget Godzillionaire. That's everybody's favorite kaiju, by the way.
It's good to know.
Yeah. At least that's the what I'm trying to brand him as. So hopefully it catches on. Which by the way, is next year is Godzilla's 70th anniversary, for those that don't know.
Did
So
you see the preview to the new Godzilla movie?
No, I didn't. I should, though.
Toho's releasing a new movie. It looks really good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and Apple Plus is coming out with a Monarch TV show, and that actually looks good too.
Okay. No, that's good. I do like my giant monsters. So anything that, Godzilla, Mothra, Gamera, all those ones, they're just great.
And that Apple TV Plus looks like they're going to touch on all of it. It's about Monarch,
I've heard the name before. I'm sure I've seen.
Was it Warner Brothers who was doing the MonsterVerse movies?
Universal, right?
Universal, yes. So the organization that was hunting all the monsters and doing all that stuff was Monarch in those movies, and it's a part of that universe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, I was just having a little bit of a look here. Monarch Legacy of Monsters.
That's it.
Is that what it's called? Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice. It's got John Goodman in it.
Yeah, and somebody else very famous. Kurt Russell, I want to say.
Kurt Russell?
Maybe. Kurt Russell, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's him and his son, and they say his son looks just like his father does. That's who they got to play the young Kurt Russell was his son.
Okay.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so there you go. Next year. Well, I know it's out now, but next year is the official 70th anniversary. So, and coincidentally, for my anime chat on Sundays, the theme for November is anime with kaiju in it.
Okay.
So that should be a good time.
Have you seen? Um, I keep saying unemployed reincarnation, but I think it's something else.
Is it what is it? Mushoko Tensei? Is that the one you're
Yes,
talking
that's the
about?
one. Yeah,
That's one I have
yeah.
not seen yet. I do have quite a bit of a watch list for this season, and I know I have to catch up on stuff. I'm a little bit behind by an episode. Um,
I think if you bump that up on your watch list, you'll be quite pleased.
okay.
It it's one of those few animes that have like character growth where he starts out as this old man reincarnated in a young boy's body, but he actually has problems. He grows, he matures along with the character. It's not something you often see in anime. You know, he has troubles, he has traumas, he has to overcome them. You don't see that in a lot of anime. You know,
Yeah, no, that's
some do, but
you're right.
yeah,
But it's not the norm. I get what you're
no.
saying.
And it's definitely not the norm when he starts out sniffing panties and then grows into a mature person toward the end who still occasionally sniffs panties, but only in private. Um, I won't lie, you'll laugh and you'll cry at this show. It's really good.
Yeah, so actually what we're watching right now, Mrs. Mechanic, myself, we're watching One Piece.
Okay,
Um,
that's a
the,
long one.
on
That
Yeah,
anime.
it is on DVD. We're watching it.
Okay,
This season, I'm watching Overtake. The
okay.
100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You.
I haven't seen that one, but that sounds like something I
Oh,
might
it's
like.
just it cracks me up, and I laugh so hard. Stardust Telepath. I'm watching. Shy. 16-bit Sensation. Another layer. And Frieren. And Frieren
Fair enough.
is really good. So if you ever
Yes,
get a chance to watch Frieren,
it
it
sounds
is
familiar. I think I've seen it, but I just can't
okay.
place what it's about.
It is this elf who's very long lived. She's a magical elf.
And this
She's
is
a
post her
sage.
adventures.
She's
This is
after
like
her
10 years
adventure.
after.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
I am watching that too. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
it's very
Good
good.
on you. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
So character development and everything in that one, and
yep.
I'm enjoying it a lot. So if you're not on any list, um, it's no big deal. It helps you track all the shows you're watching and what you want to watch. It's an excellent resource for tracking your shows,
Yeah,
and it
I
doesn't.
watch a lot on Crunchyroll and Netflix, and I just save the history and I just pull up my bookmarks
Oh, okay, okay.
because it's there's a lot out there I've seen that I really enjoy, and I just can't remember the names of all of them.
And there's also High Dive you could use too. It's like Crunchyroll except owned by somebody else.
Yeah, yeah, everything's owned by Sony except High Dive.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. There was
good.
there's a
Sorry,
really
go ahead.
good one too. There's a really good one too. Alice and Zuroku.
Okay, I've heard of that as well.
It's about an old guy who he adopts this young girl with superpowers and raises her properly. And it's about her being, rebellious and young and having all these superpowers and him trying to raise her properly, like a proper young lady. It's heartwarming. It's really good.
I think that's when you mentioned when we did the last. I did my open mic there with Waddle. I think that was one that you mentioned.
I may have, yeah.
The Godzillionaires excited. Ooh, kaiju.
Good.
He
Yes. Well,
says
he the was the number one most popular kaiju.
it's Godzillionaire or
Yeah,
Godzilla.
exactly.
Watch Godzilla's Singular Point. Not the best, but not a bad anime. Thanks, Godzillionaire. I will make a note of that.
I've been
Grab
meaning to
my
watch
pen.
that. I think I have it on my Netflix thing. I think that's the one on Netflix.
I just got to write this down. Godzilla Singular Point. Singular Point. So I make notes for myself. I actually write it down on a sticky note, and that way I don't forget. There we go. He can't get it up at one point. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Do I want to know what that's about?
That's a spoiler.
Okay. He's on 525 of One Piece.
Oh, wow.
Okay. We are
the live
on...
action they did was great.
Yeah, I heard it was good. He uses Anywave. Okay. Daughter just left the nest and is already an S rank adventure. Oh yeah, yeah. Daughter left the nest and is... That's another one. I haven't watched it, but I've heard of it.
I think I've heard of that one too.
But yeah, see, kids, you can be in the trades and, do the cool things like play video games and watch anime. Because, you can have your trade, but you got to have a hobby as well.
Yeah.
Being
on YouTube doesn't always pay the bills. It's going to be fun to do, but it just doesn't really pay the bills. It's 1 in a billion shot at it, but get a day job in the meantime. If you strike it rich on YouTube, you got it going.
That's
Other
right.
than that, you need to eat in the meantime.
Yeah. No, you nailed it right there. Don't these kids have to stop being so delusional about being TikTok stars or YouTube stars or whatever, because it's just not going to happen. You have to have your main job and have it as a side thing to do the YouTube thing. And if that takes off, like Irate said, if it takes off, good, then you can, leave your job, but don't do it ahead of time, because being homeless and out on the streets is not good. So
yeah, I believe it was Gary from Nerdrotic saying getting to where he's at was like winning the lottery, but you worked your rear end off to get there.
Oh yeah, I believe
it. It's really not likely to happen. You have to work really hard at it, and you're not likely to succeed at it.
Yeah,
it's just a chance.
Yeah, and I've listened to him talk about his channel, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I have the channel, and it didn't blow up until like just quite recently. He had that channel going for over, I don't know, 5 years or so before it even took off."
Yeah.
So it's like, look at that, all that slogging through things and all that. Like, that's he's put in a lot of hard work, like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it took me 2 months to get my first interview for Bygone, Florida, of just emailing and cold calling people to get it. And I had to call in several favors to get it.
Wow.
Yeah. Because who wants to come onto a channel with no videos?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, it's like, well, I don't have videos because I haven't interviewed anybody, but I can't interview anybody because I don't have any videos. It's like catch-22 almost.
Yeah, people are afraid you're going to, especially in the South in a rural community, they're going to afraid you're going to make them look like an idiot like everybody else does.
Oh, yes.
And I actually promised the lady I'd give her first right of a refusal if she didn't like the video. And then I showed her the first episode and she fell in love with it. She's like, wow, I look fantastic. Absolutely. Go with it.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah.
Right on. I hope it takes off for you. I hope it goes well and you're able to make more of them. And then that'll give the people of Florida, they can look at it and have something to be proud of and really appreciate it.
Not just be known for Florida Man and Disney.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, Florida Man.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everyone had a good time. I did. And please do what you can for me and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm out there on Rumble, Kick, and YouTube and Twitch. Tell your friends, there's a tradesman on there. He likes to talk about the trades and learn, and you can come and learn about it and hear me interview people that are in the trades and hear what I want to hear eventually from all the different trades that are out there, not just like the same ones over and over again. I want to get welder on. I want to get, somebody that's in masonry, stuff like that. So I'm trying to branch out there and try to get to the different trades that are out there. But coming up for me on Saturday, that's video game day. Saturday is always game day. I always play retro games. I'm working through Castlevania 3. I'm right at the last boss, and he's just kicking my ass around, and I need to get better to defeat him. So come on out. Watch me try to beat Dracula on Saturday. That's at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Then coming up on Sunday anime chat at 9 a.m. as well. It's Kaiju month, so come on out and let's look at some anime that features a lot of kaiju in them. Should be a fun time. And then Tuesday rolls around, and that's always Trades Talk Tuesday, unless it's on a Friday like today.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I make exceptions for the live interviews. Just pretty much anytime after work should be okay. But I need a break. I need working all day, and then got to spend some quality time with the family and all that. So yeah, you know what it's like.
I absolutely do.
Yeah. So I would like to thank you, Irate Specialist, for coming on and sharing your stories. I really enjoyed it, and I hope all the chatters did as well.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed being here. I hope everyone had as fun as I did.
Yeah, I hope for that as well. And I hope everyone will join us next time for either Trades Talk Tuesday or the gaming or anime. I'm pretty much work the morning shifts for the streaming. So for Irate Specialist and myself, I've been Pop, and we are signing off.
Have a good one, y'all.